Chapter 177. As Dean Tong announced the decision, Wang Ren's body went cold, and his right hand couldn't stop shaking. He knew there was no turning back. Fatty Wang. Go back and play with your balls. Xiong Jinko was the first to scold. The others naturally didn't want to be left behind. They had hated Wang Ren for so many years, and now they finally had the chance to scold him in front of him. How could they not be happy? Dean Tong coughed again. Students, don't be like this. Wang Ren still didn't leave. He just stood at the door and looked at Qin Guang fiercely. He thought to himself, I won't let this matter go like this, absolutely not. Qin Guang could guess what he was thinking from the look in his eyes. He rolled up the pennant and carried it on his shoulder like a knife. He moved out of his seat and walked to Wang Ren. He said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, It's not a good feeling to shoot yourself in the foot, right? Don't look at me like that. I'm not afraid you'll eat me up. I also want to tell you that this matter won't end like this. Qin Guang. How's it going? At this moment, a tall and strong figure walked quickly from the corridor. It was Wu Tong in her police uniform. She finally rushed back. Qin Guang raised his eyebrows at Wu Tong. Big sis, you're finally here. The show is about to end. But it's good that you can at least listen to the ending song. Come, let me introduce you. This is our discipline director. Oh no, the former discipline director Wang Ren. He has already been kicked out of our school. That's enough. Let people go wherever possible. Don't be like this. When Wu Tong came to Qin Guang's side, she gave him a slap and pushed him into the conference room. After watching Wang Ren leave, Wu Tong continued, Why did you offend him? Is there a need for that? Aren't you afraid that he'll remember you? Qin Guang chuckled. Sister Wu Tong, wait till I tell you about his legend. I dare to guarantee that you will swallow your words of, let people off when possible. Wu Tong frowned. What's going on? I'll tell you about it later. I'll go back and enjoy the hero treatment first. Alright, what's with this silk banner? Is Wu Shan really your father? He came to support me and even prepared this prop. He's so loyal. Qin Guang and Wu Tong laughed and returned to the conference room. Wu Tong didn't follow them in. Instead, she hid outside with a red face. How embarrassing. If he knew the origin of this silk banner, he would definitely laugh at me to death, right? No, of course I couldn't let him know that I had actually prepared this banner long ago. What was I thinking at that time? I just wanted to find an excuse to meet this kid, so I made this silk banner and gave it to him in the name of the branch? Am I stupid or crazy? Alright, that damn Tanging can't be relied on anymore. I'd better find a professional psychiatrist later. Old Tong, you're being too impulsive by suspending Wang Ren. Aren't you worried about that person? Deputy Dean Deng found an opportunity to get close to Dean Tong and whispered. He even pointed to the ceiling as he spoke. Dean Tong looked at Deputy Dean Deng with extreme disgust. You and I are well aware of Wang Ren's past actions in the academy. It's just that we haven't found any concrete evidence against him. With that person and you, the deputy dean, backing him up, he's been living a carefree life. I thought that he would restrain himself after that incident, but now he's plotting against Xiao Zhuo. Why, Dean Deng, do you still want to continue protecting Wang Ren and turn our academy into one of his palaces and 6 courtyards? If it weren't for the fact that I don't have that authority, and you're also a veteran of our academy, I would have suspended you as well. Deputy Dean Deng's face stiffened. He didn't expect Dean Tong to be so impolite. From what he said, it seemed like he wanted to shed all pretense of cordiality with Wang Ren's protective uncle. Where did you get your courage and confidence from? What's wrong with this world? Have you really made up your mind? Deputy Dean Deng asked again, unwilling to give up. Dean Tong had already turned her face away. She couldn't be bothered to look at him, but her heart was filled with disdain. Of course I know that expelling Wang Ren will offend someone. But no matter how influential Wang Ren's uncle is, can he be more influential than Wu Shan? You're a frog at the bottom of a well. I'm waiting to see you drown. I hope that when you go back you'll watch the provincial news programs. Pay more attention to the actual situation. Otherwise, would you still be here wasting your saliva on me? After causing a commotion in the conference room, Qin Guang gave out the commendation and comforted Zhuo Jingxi. He even had to deal with the White Snake's 3rd grandson, who was trying to ruin his plans. After that, Qin Guang was finally freed and ran out with Wu Tong, who was waiting for him outside. Sitting on a chair by the lake, Qin Guang told Wu Tong about Wang Ren's legend, especially the female student who died last year. This time Wu Tong was enraged. She immediately jumped up from her chair and rushed towards the direction of the school building, shouting, That Wang Ren is actually this kind of scum. Scum. Damn it. I'll go catch him. I can't let this kind of person go. She was swearing. Go, I support you. Catch him, then torture him. Beat him half to death. I guarantee you'll have the goods, Qin Guang said faintly as he sat on the chair. Wu Tong turned around. Aren't you going to stop me? Qin Guang spat. Why would I stop you? I can't wait for you to catch him. Wu Tong sat back down and sighed. There's no evidence. I can't catch him. Yo, you still remember your catchphrase? You're so capable and arrogant. Why don't you go to heaven? Qin Guang had a rare opportunity to tease her. He couldn't be soft-spoken. Wu Tong spat at him. I worked so hard to help you. Is this how you treat your benefactor? Qin Guang chuckled. That's a different matter. You're a police officer. You can't be so impulsive. Sooner or later, something will happen. You're worried about me? Wu Tong asked. Qin Guang nodded. Yeah, it wasn't easy for me to find such a powerful backer. If something really happens to you, I'll be in heaven. Who's going to look after me in the future? Go to hell. Wu Tong pushed his shoulder and said, I'm not joking with you anymore. I'll remember what happened to Wang Ren. After I finish the case at hand, I'll try to investigate it and try to find something substantial. If he's really the kind of person you said he is, his background isn't that clean. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall. The only reason criminals can get away with it is because an excellent detective like me doesn't keep an eye on them. You're right. I'm speechless. Qin Guang shocked Wu Tong's confidence. How shameless was that? Other than being able to fight on par with me, is there anything else you're good at? All right. You even knocked him unconscious with his nunchaku. You shouldn't have hit him. Evil has its retribution. It's not time yet. Let him jump around for a while. I'll find out his background. Wu Tong said again. Damn, she didn't hear the sarcasm in my words. Her face was as thick as the old man's. Okay, but if you can't find out his background and he comes to find trouble with me, I'll crush his bones inch by inch. Qin Guang said. When are you going to change your bad habit of lynching people? You're making things difficult for me as your sister. Anyway, I have the support of the policewoman, Hua. What's there to be afraid of? *CK off. I still have things to do at the station, so I'll go back first. You pay attention. Don't let this damn fatty get into trouble before he falls. Come out and have coffee with me some other day. Stepping on Qin Guang's leg, Wu Tong took the opportunity when Qin Guang was hugging his leg in pain to run away. She was as happy as a sparrow. Chapter 178. When Wu Tong walked out of Wujing University and climbed into her Wrangler, Wu Shan, who had been sitting in the passenger seat, suddenly turned his head and said, That young man of yours should have recognized me. This young man is quite concerned about politics. Wu Tong rolled her eyes. He usually runs the internet to earn money. It's the same as a taxi driver. Of course, he knows a lot about current politics. Otherwise, who knows when he'll give you all a slap on the head and say that he's breaking the law again. Seize his car. Wu Shan stared at her. I helped you so much today, and this is how you thank me? This father and daughter pair are really alike. Even the way they ask for favors is the same. I was wrong. Thank you. Wu Tong said as she started the car. My great dad, you have been here for almost the whole morning. I was afraid that you would have a lot of work to do. I'm just a basic police officer. I'm not as free as you, so I won't accompany you. When we get back to the station, you can go back to the city by yourself. I have to go on patrol. I came here to look for you, but you used patrolling as an excuse to hide far away. That Qin Guang called and you asked me to support him. Now that it's done, you want to chase me away? Isn't it too heartless to burn the bridge after crossing the river? I'm your father. Wu Shan was depressed. You're not really interested in that kid, are you? He's just a student. You are Wu Shan's daughter. So many people are watching you. You can't. Wu Tong suddenly stopped the car by the roadside. Get out. What nonsense are you talking about? He is my god brother. I treat him like my own brother. So what if I am Wu Shan's daughter? I am Yuan Fei's daughter. And Wu Long's sister. Don't try to put on an official show in front of me. I won't fall for it. I don't care how many people are watching me. That's your business. It's not my business. Hearing Wu Tong's words, Wu Shan's face turned slightly red. Wu Tong, don't be like this. I just want to have lunch with you to celebrate the robber you caught a few days ago. Get out of the car. I became a police officer by choice. It has nothing to do with you. Stop interfering with my work and don't even try to interfere with my feelings. I can do whatever I want. I didn't want to mention my mother and brother, but you just had to remind me. Do you think Wu Shan's family has to be like this? If I had a choice, I would rather reincarnate into an ordinary family like Qin Guang's. Wu Tong slammed the steering wheel with all her might and roared hysterically. Wu Shan was silent. He turned his face to the other side and looked at the people coming and going outside the window. His eyes were slightly red. He took a deep breath, took out a small box from his suit pocket, and gently placed it next to the handbrake. It's your birthday in a month. I'm going to the capital for a meeting next week, and then I may go abroad to study for a period of time. I may not be able to come back on your birthday, so I'm giving you your birthday present in advance. Was my fault. I was too nervous. After Wu Shan finished speaking, he opened the car door, turned a corner and silently walked away. Wu Tong pounced on the steering wheel. Her nose twitched violently, and she slammed the steering wheel angrily. Wu Tong, why are you crying? You're an amazing police officer. Mom and brother are watching you from the sky. Qin Guang did not know what Wu Tong and Wu Shan were talking about. He was looking at Ren Yuan and the others in front of him, expressionless. Qin Guang, we know it's our fault. But please take into account that we're all classmates. We don't ask for much, but we sincerely hope that you can forgive us. Ren Yuan and the others stood in front of Qin Guang with their heads drooped. Qin Guang waved his hand impatiently. Why are you telling me this? I'm not an official in the school, so I can't do anything to you. Let's all mind our own business from now on and live our own lives. You don't have to ask me to forgive you. I'm not Lu Xuanda, I'm not that magnanimous. I don't care what reason you have, you framed me anyway. You want me to repay evil with good? I'm sorry, but I can't do that. You guys can save it. After saying that, Qin Guang turned around and left. He was sick of these people. I've never been magnanimous. I'm already benevolent enough not to catch you guys and beat you up. Do you want me to forget our differences by drinking wine? I don't like that anymore. Who knows if two-faced people like you will stab me in the back in the future. Instead of being betrayed by your so-called friends, I might as well not be friends in the first place. Although Qin Guang was always laughing and joking around, he had a good eye for making friends. After being tormented for the entire morning, Qin Guang's illness acted up again, so he decided to skip classes in the afternoon. At noon he waited for a new phone, and after going through a lot of trouble he changed it. After rejecting the so-called celebration from his classmates, Qin Guang happily drove to the city hospital. When he arrived, his mother had just finished her dialysis. Her face was slightly pale as she rested on the hospital bed. His father held up the tablet with both hands and played the Langya list for his mother. Hugu is really handsome. He was already handsome when he acted in The Legend of the Sword and Fairy a few years ago. So many years have passed, but he still looks so handsome. I don't know how these celebrities take care of their skin, his mother said weakly, but she seemed to be in a good mood. Qin Guang nodded. The Legend of the Sword and Fairy, that was also his childhood. Qin Guili rolled his eyes. Hugu is handsome, but in my opinion our little Guang is more handsome. At least his spirit is much better than the sickly Hugu. What do you know? He's acting. Jiang Meilang is a patient, okay? It's because he's good at acting. His mother argued for the little fresh meat. Qin Guang stumbled when he heard Qin Guili's words. Although I've always been confident, Dad, aren't you afraid that tens of millions of fans will hear about it and burn me to death? Mom, how are you feeling today? Qin Guang chuckled as he walked over. Feng Rong shifted her gaze away from the tablet and smiled. I'm all right. The doctor said that my condition is getting better. Oh yeah, why are you here? Don't you have classes in the afternoon? This ICU is pretty good. The nurses are in charge of individual tasks. Your dad can handle it alone. Don't come over if you have nothing to do. It'll affect your studies. Qin Guili also nodded. That's right. Don't disturb me in your mother's world. Qin Guang rolled his eyes and flipped his head. We're both old man. My wife and son already have access to the internet. What do you mean by alone time? As for the classes in the afternoon, they're not important. I'll skip them. 15 minutes later, Qin Guili placed his hands on his thighs and glared at Qin Guang, who was 10 meters away from him. Stop right there. Stop right there. What's with your tone? Do you think skipping classes is like eating or drinking? You're lucky that your mom isn't feeling well. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death with your mom. Qin Guang also placed a hand on the statue and pretended to look tired. All right, I can't wait for my mother to recover so that she can form a team with you. You won't be able to catch me alone. Save your energy. Tang Ying, who was taking a short break, was leaning on the windowsill of the doctor's office. She watched the father and son chase each other for 10 minutes. She was laughing so hard that she almost lost her breath. This father and son pair was really interesting. Chapter 179. Although Qin Guili and Feng Rong looked like they wanted to grab Qin Guang and beat him up, Qin Guang still stayed in the ward for more than 2 hours. During that time, he took the opportunity to emphasize to his father that the house in his hometown should not be sold. Then, Qin Guang transferred the 100,000 yuan he earned yesterday to Qin Guoli on the spot. This shocked the middle-aged businessman who had been doing business for most of his life. What the hell did you do? Why does it look like you picked up the money from the ground? No. You have to give me an explanation. Qin Guoli widened his eyes and stared at Qin Guang blankly. He wanted to cut him open to see his heart. Qin Guang shrank back and put some distance between them. He thought to himself, I can't tell my dad that I taught people to race. Otherwise, I won't be able to escape today's men's singles beating. But how am I going to explain this? It's time for me to use my divine skill of deception. There's one thing that I've always found hard to say. But now I have to admit it to you, Dad. Qin Guang hesitated a little and pretended to make up his mind. Looking at his pained expression, Qin Guoli's heart tightened. Say it. As long as it's not against the law, as long as it's not life-threatening, I can understand. You didn't guess wrong that day. I really am a sugar daddy. What? Qin Guoli looked at his son in shock. You're not joking? Qin Guang painfully turned his face to the side. It's true. How old is she? In her 30s? In her 40s? Is there any possibility of you getting married? Qin Guoli was actually concerned about this. Qin Guang shook his head but didn't say anything. No possibility of getting married? Not in her 30s or 40s. Oh my God. Could it be that she's already in her 50s or 60s? What a tragedy. Qin Guoli beat his chest and stamped his feet. Damn. Dad, didn't you just say that I was more handsome than Hugo? Is that all you have in me? I, old Qin, am heartbroken. How could you face your grandparents? How could I face the ancestors of the Qin family? I was useless. I actually let my son become a prostitute to earn money. The other party's age was almost the same as my mother's. I, Qin Guoli, don't want to live anymore. As Qin Guoli spoke, he turned his head and wanted to hit the wall with his head. After a while, you will not associate it with the Queen of England. Dad, your divergence ability is at least 3 times stronger than mine. No, it's not like that. Listen to my explanation. Marriage was indeed out of the question. After all, the other party was too famous. However, the other party was not an old granny in her 50s or 60s. He's the same age as me. Qin Guang quickly explained, pulling Qin Guoli back from his train of thought. Qin Guoli jumped back again. What? Don't tell me it's the female celebrity you said you saved last time? Left and right hand. The national idol that even I, your dad, am tempted to look at? A pair of sisters? To be honest, if the person standing in front of him was not his dad, Qin Guang would have kicked him out. After thinking for a long time, he decided to let Jiang Yage take the blame. Your son is not that capable. It's just Jiang Yage alone. I don't believe you. Who is she? How can she be interested in a nobody like you? After a while, Big Beard Deng's new movie will be released. You can go to the cinema to watch it. Your son's scenes are probably in the middle. There's a big scene in the middle of the movie. The deputy general with the silver spear, although he doesn't have any lines, his face is exposed. This is the opportunity that Jiang Yage helped me fight for. What I told you last time is also true. This 100,000. She paid you for the night? Qin Guoli interrupted. Dad, I give you full marks for your ability to make sentences. After a long explanation, Qin Guang told his dad that Jiang Yage was going to give him a Patek Philippe. After saying so much to him, Qin Guang was afraid that he would not believe it and secretly sell the house in his hometown. By then it would be too late for regrets. The father and son went downstairs side by side. Qin Guoli's face was full of emotion. He patted Qin Guang's shoulder. Sai, that kind of superstar is probably just playing with you. There's no hope of getting married. The entertainment industry, Sai. Son, it's been hard on you. Anyway, the lie had already been made up. With Jiang Yage as a shield, Qin Guang thought that he would accidentally get money from somewhere and throw it to his dad. There was no need to explain anymore and let him think whatever he wanted. It can't be helped. She's actually quite a good person. I saved their lives and I'm grateful that she thinks highly of me. I'm not in the mood to care about the entertainment industry. I'll just be a monk striking the bell for a day. In short, you must remember that this matter is only known by the heavens, the earth, you, and me. There can't be a third person who knows about it. It will have a very bad impact. Qin Guoli nodded vigorously. Yes. Striking the bell for a day? The overnight fee is so high. It must be tiring, right? Why don't we go to the pharmacy at the entrance of the hospital and get a few bottles of Luwei Dihuang pills to nourish our body? Qin Guang, can you tell me more about the two of you? Did you take any safety measures? Did you guard against paparazzi when you booked the room? She looks so pure on the TV. Why is she such a person behind the scenes? There's no telling what's in her heart. Is Jean Shuiwei interested in you? I feel that if you have the chance you can earn double. Even the Luwei Dihuang pills might not be enough. Dad, let's cut off our father-son relationship. The father and son went downstairs with a wretched look on their faces. Chen Guoli went back to his ward, while Chen Guang planned to go to Professor Lu's office to ask about the transplant surgery preparations. However, Professor Lu wasn't there, so he went to find Tang Ying. By this time, Chen Guang had gradually accepted Tang Ying as his mother's deputy chief physician. Even though he didn't want to admit that he had a deep misunderstanding of her, Chen Guang could tell that Tang Ying seemed to have real skills. When he arrived at Tang Ying's office, there were people coming and going. She was busy. There was nothing urgent, so Chen Guang found a corner and stood there. When Tang Ying inadvertently glanced at him, he greeted her. He then quietly looked at this overly young female doctor. She looked a little haggard. To outsiders, being a doctor was a glamorous, high-paid and well-respected profession. But in fact, only they themselves knew the pain they were going through. Working overtime was a piece of cake for them, and their regular working hours were much longer than that of ordinary people. This was especially so for chief physicians who were in charge of patients. They practically ate and lived in the hospital and they never had time to rest. Tang Ying had actually been working for more than 14 hours straight. She only took a short nap in the middle and ate 3 meals. However, even though her face was haggard, the fighting spirit in her eyes was still burning. After Dr. Ma left, she finally successfully gained a foothold in this hospital. She was rushing forward with all her might, so how could she be willing to stop? Chapter 180. After she finished talking to the doctor, she slowly stood up and stretched. She shrugged her tired shoulders and walked over to Chen Guang. She seemed to be in a good mood. Yo, you're here again? Why aren't you looking for your beloved Professor Lu? Why are you here? Tang Ying knew that Professor Lu wasn't here today, so she deliberately teased Chen Guang. Chen Guang was speechless. Why is this woman so vengeful? Every time she says something like, "I'm your savior. Professor Lu isn't here. Who else would I look for if not you?" Chen Guang said in a muffled voice. Tang Ying let out a long chuckle and yawned. Wait for me for 2 minutes. I'm going to get off work. I'm going to change and go home to sleep. I saw you earlier. You've been here for a while, right? You're going out after asking me some questions, right? Are you going to the sports car? Chen Guang nodded. That's what I plan to do. After waiting for about 6 or 7 minutes, Tang Ying walked over in plain clothes. She wasn't like most women who liked to carry a satchel when they went out. Instead, she carried a huge backpack on her back that was stuffed to the brim. Knowing that he would have to rely on her in the future, Chen Guang took the initiative to reach out his hand. Your back looks like it's going to break. Give me the backpack. Chen Guang wasn't an ordinary patient's family member, so there was an extra layer to their relationship. Tang Ying didn't stand on ceremony with him. She threw the backpack into Chen Guang's hands. That's great. Take it. Why is it so heavy? Are there gold bricks in it? Even with Chen Guang's physique, he felt it was heavy. One could imagine how heavy it felt to be on top of Tang Ying. Tang Ying led the way out and said, There are medical books in there. How can it not be heavy? Medical books? Can I take a look? Chen Guang's interest was piqued as he wondered if he could learn medicine. Then, when Liuli appeared, she would instantly become the strongest doctor in history. However, he also knew that this idea was not very realistic. The amount of knowledge involved in medical skills was too large, and it required a comprehensive understanding of the subject. It was not something that could be learned just by reading books. It required an extremely rich clinical experience, and it was probably not something that the spirit heaven realm in a cup could handle. Tang Ying, on the other hand, rolled her eyes at him in disdain. It's all in English. Do you think a lousy university student like you can understand it? If you don't believe me, you can try. Chen Guang opened the zipper and took out a medical book that was as thick as an Oxford dictionary. He raised his eyebrows proudly and said, You're looking down on me. Then, as he walked, Chen Guang read out the sentences in the English tome one by one. His pronunciation was perfect and the taste was pure. It was still the original formula and the original taste. Tang Ying had lived in the United States for many years, so she was more knowledgeable. She was shocked by Chen Guang's move, just like Schmidt. Oh my God! Where did you learn to speak English like this? Chen Guang chuckled and said, So, this is to tell you that there's always someone better than you. Don't think that just because you're a doctor from Morance you're so arrogant. It's also because I felt dizzy after reading a few paragraphs that I didn't want to study medicine anymore. Otherwise you wouldn't even have a chance. He was not joking. Learning medicine was not something an ordinary person could do without a bit of talent and patience. Fine, I'm the one with the long hair. You didn't come all the way here just to show off your English, right? You must want to ask about your mother's transplant, right? Qin Guang nodded and said, yeah, I can't rest easy without surgery. Of course, I want it to be done as soon as possible. By then the two had already walked next to Qin Guang's car. Tang Ying patted him on the shoulder and said, don't worry. With such a perfect match and Professor Liu as the chief surgeon, unless the sky falls, nothing big will happen. Of course, this is, after all, a major surgery that will affect your muscles and bones. So, be it your mother or the person who is providing the transplant source, both of them will have to adjust their bodies to the best condition before they can come here. I estimate that it will take around 30 days or so. It's better to be safe. I'm relieved to hear that. Everything is ready, we just need money. Is that okay? Tang Ying asked. Qin Guang thought for a while and said, no problem. Okay, then I'll place the order online. Hurry up and take me home. Tang Ying crawled into Qin Guang's passenger seat and took out her phone. Qin Guang hurriedly stopped her. Don't. Save it. If someone finds out that you're taking orders in a car, the money you earn won't even be enough to pay the fine. I'll owe you a big favor, I'll take you home. You won't act until you see the rabbit. Last time you sent me home your attitude was terrible, but now you're so gentle and considerate like a nice guy. Men nowadays. Tang Ying didn't want to waste time with him. She put away her phone and teased him. Qin Guang was embarrassed by her words. I'm still a university student, a boy, not a man yet. On the way the two chatted and laughed. Tang Ying told Qin Guang a lot of interesting things about her abroad, and indirectly showed off her achievements abroad. This made Qin Guang believe that this woman really was an amazing medical doctor. Tang Ying watched as Qin Guang took the order in front of her and drove away. She carried a big backpack with both hands and smiled. At this moment she was standing at the place where the two of them had first met. She remembered that Qin Guang said he was still a university student, a boy, and her smile grew bigger. You say you're a boy, but you're much more responsible than the average man. Good people always have good lives. I hope everything goes well for your family. Tang Ying will do my best. Life always takes time away inadvertently. After Wang Ren was chased away, peace returned to the Jinhuan Academy and the entire class. Qin Guang contacted the two of them again and received a piece of good news. The two of them were recording at a much faster pace than he had imagined, and they would probably return to China 10 days before the surgery. At that time they would directly fly over to look for him. With this as a foundation, Qin Guang didn't have to worry about money anymore. He spent more of his energy on the battle of wits and courage with the heavenly Holy Grail. All day long he was thinking about how to make better use of this crazy knife. Based on his previous experiences in the spiritual celestial cup, he could roughly analyze the skill level of this level of the spiritual celestial cup. What kind of skill was easy to learn and use to make money? It was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to think about. In addition, Lu Li used the power of the realm of life, which seemed to consume a lot of energy. Even the heavenly Holy Grail didn't move. But as time passed, Qin Guang was on guard every day, afraid that he would waste the precious 3,000 worlds like he did the last time he sharpened a pencil. It was tiring. Suddenly, when he came back to his senses, 2 weeks had passed, and it was almost time for the CET4 exam. Chapter 181. In the class, Qin Guang's tragic reputation of failing 5 times in a row in CET4 was already gone. The time of the CET4 exam, which was almost forgotten by others, was suddenly noticed by everyone because of the unusual existence of Qin Guang. Place your bets, place your bets. Bet on how many points Brother Guang can pass the CET4 exam. Place your bets. Bai Nyangzi, who was good at making money, began to shout as soon as the class was over. Tomorrow was the CET4 and CET6 exam that would make all the college students worry, gloat, or weep bitterly. This bets was also a reserved program in the engineering class, and it was the 3rd time so far. The difference was that in the past, everyone bet on how many points Qin Guang would lose, but this time they bet on how many points he would pass the exam. After witnessing his sudden rise last time, no one dared to look down on his English anymore. I bet 100 points. I bet 150 points. 200 points. Lying by the window, Qin Guang looked at those idiots acting cute while fiddling with the heavenly Saint Grail. In his heart he was thinking, Big Sister Lioli, why don't you give me some news? It's already been 2 weeks and there's no news at all. I'm starting to panic. She said last time that this was a punishment world derived from the realm of life, and it would definitely be very different from a normal test world. Although he knew his life was not in danger for the time being, he still couldn't help feeling guilty and had an ominous premonition of impending disaster. You bunch of cowards. I bet more than 700 points. That's right, a full score of 710. I bet Brother Guang can pass the exam with more than 700 points. Lin Jingwei shouted, and even Qin Guang was surprised. Little Lin, you think too highly of me, don't you? Lin Jingwei chuckled. I believe in Brother Guang and I won't fail. Brother Guang never fails. Get lost. Qin Guang threw the book in his hand far away, and it hit Lin Jingwei's face. Little Chen's flying letter never missed its target. At this critical moment, Qin Guang saw a figure outside the classroom from the corner of his eye. Holy shit. Goddess Wenwen is here. I can't let her see the wager of this bunch of grandsons. Otherwise all the effort that I've put in to hide until now will be wasted. Immediately, Qin Guang shot up from his seat like a bolt of lightning. He took large strides and instantly rushed in front of Bai Nyangzi's group. The table was already filled with red and green notes. Bai Nyangzi was burying his head in a piece of paper and making notes. Based on the passing score of 425 points, there would be a level every 50 points. Everyone's bets were basically aiming for more than 100 points. Yo, why is it so lively? What are you doing? Wenwen had already barged into the classroom. She often went to look for Qin Guang in the environmental sciences class, so she knew these people well and didn't need to be polite. Gaoya, who was sitting on the other side, rolled her eyes and poked Sun Xiaoxuan's waist. This witch is here again. Xiaoxuan, you should take the initiative. Your lover will be snatched away by your rival sooner or later. Sun Xiaoxuan's face blushed as she responded, Wenwen might be beautiful, but Qin Guang isn't a shallow person. Gaoya's mouth opened wide. I've heard that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You're not a beauty but a saint. Don't you see that Teacher Zhua has been finding all kinds of reasons to ask Qin Guang to go to her office? Is there something wrong with this guy? Why does everyone like him? You think Lin Jingwei is pleasing to the eye, but you can't see the good in Qin Guang. How am I pleasing to the eye? I want to beat him to death. Sun Xiaoxuan finally retaliated against Gaoya. On the other side, seeing Wenwen getting closer and closer, Qin Guang panicked. Bai Nyangzi knew something was wrong when he saw Qin Guang's expression. He suddenly remembered Qin Guang's warning and panicked. Although he didn't know why his brother Guang wanted to hide it from Wenwen, he seemed to really care about it. What should he do now? At this moment of life and death, Bai Nyangzi's wit finally came into play. His eyes widened in anger, and he abruptly grabbed the paper filled with his bet records. First he stuffed it into his mouth, then he hugged the money on the table and jumped up. As he chewed on the paper, he dashed out of the aisle and ran out of the classroom. I'm done. I'm done. You all bet on the national football team to lose. None of you backed me up. Before Bai Nyangzi's voice fell, he had already rushed past Wenwen like lightning and rushed out of the classroom. The others who had already placed their bets didn't know why Bai Nyangzi was talking about the national football team at this time, but it was an indisputable fact that he was going to swallow the bet and run away with the money. Although they knew he was joking, they still chased after him. Qin Guang was touched. What a good brother. I'll remember this friendship of yours in my notebook. What is Bai Fan doing? Qin Guang answered, they are betting on tomorrow's national football game. Those guys who only want to make money and not lose all bet on losing. I told him to win with 3 goals, but he didn't believe me. Now he can only go back on his word. He deserves it. Oh, by the way, how confident are you in tomorrow's exam? As she said this, Wenwen seemed to subtly puff out her chest. She purposely came here today to remind Qin Guang so that he wouldn't fall asleep in despair. Su Tao nearly forgot to mention that Qin Guang had actually been defeated once in his quintuple fourth order. Last semester he had slept through his CET4 exam. When he woke up, it was already 12 in the afternoon. This incident was also a legend at the time, and it laid the final foundation for his CET4 Qin Hui title. Glancing at Wenwen's perky breasts, Qin Guang secretly swallowed his saliva and patted his chest. Steady. All right then, remember not to oversleep. After the exam tomorrow afternoon, let's go to the internet cafe together to celebrate your temporary relief. If you oversleep like last time, then we won't go to the internet cafe, Wenwen said and prepared to leave. Qin Guang asked, where are we going? There's a new boxing club in the city, and there's a hospital right next to it. I'm interested in taking a look. F***CK. This is a blatant threat. But I can't say anything. Wenwen was about to leave after she finished speaking, but just as she turned around, she turned back and pointed at Lin Jingwei and Xiong who were hiding in the corner of the classroom. She was puzzled. Why are you guys hiding so far away? Xiong scratched his head. We're afraid of being injured by your murderous aura. Coward. Wenwen raised her eyebrows, turned around and walked away. After she left the classroom, Bai Nyangzi was carried back by everyone. They were performing CPR on Bai Nyangzi's stomach. Spit it out. Spit it out. You really swallowed it? You're a beast. There's so much ink on it you can really swallow it. Terrible, really terrible. Lin Jingwei walked to Qin Guang's back quietly and said faintly, I feel like you're hiding something from us. You really want to know? This is a bet between me and Wenwen if she loses? Qin Guang purposely dragged out his words. Before he finished speaking, Lin Jingwei had already dragged Xiong Jinka out. We actually don't want to know. Qin Guang shrugged. Wenwen was right, these people were really cowards. Tomorrow is the exam. My young Miss Wen, just you wait. Big Brother promises to give you a big surprise. I can't control it anymore, I'm going to ignite my strength and fighting spirit. Poor Wenwen, she still didn't know that other than herself, everyone believed that Qin Guang would definitely pass this time. Chapter 182. Qin Guang had always thought that he had seen through the bottom line of his classmates, but he realized that he was wrong today. When he got up early in the morning, Lin Jingwei and the other two were already gone. He had no idea where they went. Qin Guang cleaned his face, took his student ID and went downstairs. On the way he was also puzzled. He had to take the CET-4 test today, but the three of them had already passed the CET-4 test, and none of them applied for the CET-6 test. They should have no classes today, but they didn't sleep in. He didn't know where they went. Could it be that these three were up to something behind his back? He ate 3 steamed buns in the second cafeteria and drank a bowl of porridge. When he walked out of the cafeteria, he finally knew what the three of them were doing. The whole environmental engineering class was gathered outside. He didn't know where they found their red clothes. Looking around, he saw a red ocean. A small fish pond. In short, they were waiting for Qin Guang to give him a big surprise. What are you doing? Why are you all dressed so red? Are you going to get married? Qin Guang laughed as he walked down the short stairs in front of the cafeteria. Lin Jingwei and Bai Nyangzi, who were standing in front of the crowd, looked at each other, then suddenly took out a rolled-up banner and threw it away. Madam White immediately took over the other end of the banner. The two of them quickly pulled it to both sides, and the banner was pulled open like a painting of mountains and rivers. When it was completely unfolded, there were 8 big words written on the banner. Qin Guang, the King of English. Damn. You guys are so bored. Are you afraid I'm not famous enough? Students passing by on the pedestrian street outside of the cafeteria couldn't help but look at them. Qin Guang saw that the situation was not good, so he planned to run away. At this moment, Sun Xiaoxuan, who was wearing a pink floral dress, had a blushing face and was holding an electric loudspeaker in his hand. He took a step forward, took a deep breath and put the loudspeaker in front of his mouth. After holding it for a long time, he turned it off and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. I really can't shout. When he saw the electric horn in Sun Xiaoxuan's hand, Qin Guang was scared. He decisively turned around and walked towards the teaching building with his face covered. When he passed by Sun Xiaoxuan, he heard what she said and let out a sigh of relief. There were so many people watching. If he really shouted her name out, would he still be able to face others in the future? At this moment, Gaoya snatched the electric horn from Sun Xiaoxuan's hand and stuffed it into Lin Jingwei's hands. We spent so much effort to cheer, how can we give up halfway? At this moment, Lin Jingwei started to panic. Holding onto the loudspeaker, he looked at Qin Guang's silhouette and hesitated. Are we really going to shout? Gaoya nodded. Shout if you're a man. Qin Guang was about 20 to 30 meters away when he heard Lin Jingwei's hoarse roar. Qin Guang. Go. Pass. Level 4. F***CKU. Can't we still be friends? Who is this Qin Guang? He's just taking the level 4 exam, and he's making such a scene? I don't know. Maybe he's some rich kid. He's the guy who was trending on the school's internet a few days ago. I remember him. He's a rich kid. He smashed someone's A4L with his gang and he slapped money on the person's face. The person lost money on the spot. F***CK. He's so cool. Where is he? Where is he? I have to grab this opportunity to ride his coattails. Save it. It's hard to get along with those rich kids. He might even give you a few tight slaps if he doesn't like you. Qin Guang buried his head even deeper as he listened to the strange discussions around him. He had reason to believe that the people in class were not cheering him on. They were purely trying to set him up. If it wasn't for the fact that he had become the real king of English, he would have performed badly before the exam. You guys are a bunch of scammers. He went straight to the building where the exam venue was located. He met another person outside. It was a bit cooler today. One was wearing a long, thin, white windbreaker. She was standing next to the first teaching building. When the breeze blew, her long hair danced in the wind. She then rolled up a corner of the windbreaker, revealing the lower half of her slender legs. The warm morning sun shone down on her face. The fine hair on her face was wrapped in the faint light, adding a different kind of dazzling radiance to her already beautiful face. Qin Guang, who was standing nearby, was dumbfounded. The other boys passing by were even worse. Some of them had already accidentally tripped and fell. Even after enduring 3 years of training, Qin Guanghan still couldn't guard against it all day and night. What's wrong? Are you dumbfounded? Wen took a step forward and stood right in front of Qin Guang. Qin Guang turned his face to the side with great difficulty. It's a bit hard, but I can still take it. Wen covered her mouth and laughed. Then you better remember. Do your best and do your best. Of course, I haven't forgotten our bet from a month ago. I'm afraid that you might think that I've forgotten. You're a shy person and never bring it up in front of me. So I'm here to remind you. Just because of what you said, I have to grit my teeth and do it even if I have to lose 10 years of my life. Qin Guang laughed. It's good that you know. I'm going back to the dormitory first. I'll wait for your good news. Wen really came here to wait for him. She left after saying a few words. Watching Wen's figure go away, Qin Guang clenched his fist. Since she had said so much, of course he had to pass it. 2.5 hours later, Qin Guang was like a general who had returned from the battlefield. He walked down the stairs of the teaching building with brisk and powerful steps. He couldn't help but be so happy and proud. Without any accidents, his level had reached a high enough level. These CET4 questions were not difficult for him at all. Although he couldn't confirm the specific score, Qin Guang was 100% sure that he had passed the CET4 that had troubled him for 3 years. For others, this might be a trivial matter. But for Qin Guang, it was a milestone breakthrough. It was not only because of Wen's attractive bet, but also because this matter had been bothering him for too long. It had almost become a demon in his heart. Alright, Miss Wen's bet was great too. He really had to thank the Heavenly Holy Grail. If it wasn't for the help of the Heavenly Holy Grail, Qin Guang was sure that no matter how hard he worked this year, he wouldn't be able to create any miracles in a month. In short, it was time for her to fulfill her promise. I passed CET4. Where should I go to fulfill my promise? It was impossible to do it in public. In the forest by Yuanming Lake? Although it was a sacred place for a tryst, it wouldn't be good if someone bumped into it, right? It would be such a loss if someone saw it and took advantage of it. Forget it, he couldn't do anything without risking it. Although it hurt, he couldn't save this little bit of money. He would book a room in a hotel outside the school. Which hotel should he book? With the status of Wen University's campus belle, a nameless hotel was shameful. Of course, it had to be the only hotel with stars. Qin Guang took out his phone and decided to book a room first. Chapter 183. As for why he didn't consider buying the rubber umbrella, firstly, the hotel definitely had it, and secondly, Qin Guang didn't think it would be useful. Wen University's campus belle had always been a man of her word. Since she had already said that, there would definitely be no more benefits. There was no need to feel regretful. As long as he thought about the fact that he had finally taken the first important step after 20 years of zero breakthroughs, there would be no more regrets. When Qin Guang noticed that an hourly room in the huge Craters Wellington Hotel cost more than 300 yuan, his fingers hesitated for a moment, but he still clicked hard. A worker must sharpen his tools to do a good job. If he wasn't ruthless to himself, how could he be worthy of Wen University's campus belle's generosity? After booking the room, he called Wen in a hurry before he even had dinner. What's wrong? Is the exam over? Wen sounded a little absent-minded. Qin Guang chuckled. Of course. Where are you? I'm coming to find you. Come straight to the internet cafe, the same place. Hurry up. There are so many people today. There are at least 70 to 80 people trying to take your seat. Luckily, I used second uncle's ID to open a computer, or else you would have lost your seat long ago. No wonder Wen's voice sounded absent-minded. It turned out that this big sister had already gone to the internet cafe and was in the middle of a fierce battle. Qin Guang was puzzled. Since you used second uncle's ID to open a computer, why didn't he just sit there and surf the internet? Why did he ask someone to come over and ask you? Wenwen spat at him from a distance. You really know how to think. Second uncle is already so old. I just used his ID and he was so embarrassed that he almost broke a tree. He even let people into the internet cafe to sit? Qin Guang chuckled. He recalled second uncle's expert demeanor. It was a little out of place for such a person to sit in the internet cafe. After hanging up, he suddenly remembered that he had forgotten to tell her about the bet. He was so regretful that he stomped his feet. However, on second thought, she was there and she wouldn't fly away. With Wenwen's personality, he wasn't afraid that she would go back on her word. There was no need to tell her over the phone. It would be better to tell her face to face at the internet cafe. The hourly room would only start at 2 p.m. and end at 5 p.m. There was no hurry. It didn't take long for him to find Wenwen. It couldn't be helped. Whenever she came alone, she would always be surrounded by a lot of enthusiastic people. Usually, these enthusiastic fans would point out Wenwen's equipment and maneuvers at the beginning. Even if they weren't Dota players but League of Legends players, they were no exception. However, in the end, these people would shut their mouths one after another, not daring to speak out of turn due to Wenwen's gorgeous and precise manipulation. This was also the reason why she didn't like coming to the internet cafe alone. It was extremely annoying. Excuse me, please excuse me. There were too many people standing in the aisle. Qin Guang couldn't smoothly move over. He could only politely ask the people squeezing in the aisle to make space for him. He didn't expect that the people surrounding him were all young and energetic lads. Everyone was busy watching their goddess maneuvers. It wasn't easy for them to occupy an advantageous position. How could they let a newcomer move away just like that? Bro, don't you understand the principle of first come, first served? You should be aware that you're late. Just wait at the back. There'll be space for you when the people in front leave. A lad with long palm-length hair turned around and glanced at Qin Guang with disdain. Qin Guang was overjoyed. It had been so many days since he beat up Dong Tao. He hadn't fought anyone for a long time. His peerless skills were probably rusting and degenerating. Thank you for acting cool in front of me. This internet cafe is Wenwen and I'm blessed. If we go back and forth here a few more times, there'll be a continuous stream of lads coming to us to practice. If we persist for 8 to 10 years, we'll definitely achieve the peerless skills that tens of thousands of people admire. Let's go outside and talk about life. Qin Guang said excitedly. Hey, you guys have nothing better to do. Why are you squeezing behind me? I already said that I'm waiting for someone. Now that my friend is here, you guys are blocking my way. Are you trying to fight with a lady like me? At this time, Wenwen finally ended the exciting game. She threw away her mouse and turned to look at Qin Guang with a straight face. Qin Guang was sad. Damn it. He was noticed by this T-Rex. His hard-earned practice opportunity was going to go to waste again. Yo, the girl's temper is pretty bad. I'm not going to let you go. So what? The long-haired youth didn't disappoint Qin Guang. He continued to speak with a raised eyebrow. While speaking, he also winked at the people around him. These people jumped up and down with him. It turned out that there was a group of people here. No wonder he had the guts to be so arrogant. Qin Guang laughed. I've seen a lot of people like you. Now the grass on their graves is almost 2 meters tall. Your joke isn't funny. The long-haired youth kept a straight face. He felt that he was very cool. I think this joke is pretty good. What do you guys think? Wenwen, who was sitting in the booth, spoke again. This time she had something in her hand. It was a can of Coke that she had just finished drinking. As she spoke, crunching sounds could be heard from the Coke can in her hand. Under everyone's eyes, the aluminum alloy Coke can was easily squashed flat by her fair hands and then twisted into a small metal ball with her fingers. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air came one after another. The group of young men behind Wenwen were all dumbfounded. When they looked at Qin Guang again, the expression in their eyes immediately changed. They said, "How can you be so arrogant and cool?" They thought you had some amazing ability. After a long time, it turned out that this delicate beauty was the real Thai. Brother, your skill of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, we admire it. Run. In less than 10 seconds, the crowd behind Wenwen scattered like birds and beasts. Qin Guang sat down next to her. Before he could say anything, Wenwen urged, "Hurry up, I just finished a round and my hands are still warm." Originally, Qin Guang had wanted to directly bring up the matter of the bet, but seeing her like this, he didn't want to dampen her spirits, so he thought, "Fine, I'll play a few rounds with you first." Today was a little strange. That ID called Jiang Luhua hadn't appeared from start to finish. The two of them hadn't encountered any snipers, so they had won 2 rounds without a hitch. At this moment, Qin Guang wondered if he was sick. When that Jiang Luhua had been jumping around, he had hated him to the core, but now that he had disappeared, his heart felt empty. Unknowingly, it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. His stomach had started to growl with hunger, and the most important thing was that the hourly hotel reservation was about to expire. He was finally anxious. Taking advantage of this round, he finally plucked up the courage to say, "Wenwen, there's something I don't know if I should say." "Go ahead." What about our bet?" As Qin Guang said this, his gaze drifted down to Wenwen's chest. His meaning couldn't be more obvious. Wenwen shrank back. "What nonsense are you thinking about? F***ck. Is he clearly going to renege on his debt? Even if I agree, the heavens won't agree." Qin Guang was having none of it. "You can't renege on your debt, can you?" Wenwen hit his chest. "Who said I'm going to renege on my debt? Am I that kind of person who can't take responsibility? But you can't expect me to fulfill my promise right after the exam, can you? The results haven't come out yet, so no matter how confident you are, you can't say you've already passed." Qin Guang was dumbfounded. F***ck. Today is June 14th, and we'll have to wait until the results come out on August 20th. There are still 67 days left. All right, it's not like I'm going to fly away. Just wait here obediently. Even if you want to take advantage of me, you have to follow the basic rules, right? We have to follow the rules. Didn't we agree that you'll only be rewarded if you pass the exam? Wenwen said with a grin. Obviously, she had this idea from the start, but she had purposely waited until now to point it out to Qin Guang. Qin Guang covered his face. D****, his heart was bleeding. The hourly room that cost more than 300 renminbi was booked for nothing. All right. Don't look so sad. Are you really 100% confident? Wenwen asked again when she saw how pitiful he was. Qin Guang nodded. 100%. How about this? Let's find a quiet corner later, and I'll let you get 20% of your reward in advance. How about that? Not through my clothes for a minute? Get lost. Just through my clothes. Take it or leave it. Chapter 184. The two of them squeezed into the internet cafe's toilet. The narrow space forced the two of them to be extremely close to each other. Thankfully, this internet cafe's toilet was relatively clean, and there was almost no odor. Looking at Wenwen, who had her eyes tightly closed and her coat tightly wrapped around her, Qin Guang's breathing was a little heavy. At such a close distance, even the slightest sound of breathing could be clearly heard by the other party. The thin coat couldn't cover Wenwen's peerless figure. Looking at her from such a close distance, her chest was so tall and straight. Qin Guang slowly raised his right hand and slowly moved towards one of the peaks. The closer he got, the slower his movements became. Bean-sized beads of sweat had already densely covered the tip of his nose, completely betraying his overly nervous mood at the moment. 5 minutes had passed since they squeezed into the toilet, but to Qin Guang, it seemed like a whole year had passed. "You're not going to let the two of us stay here for a year, right? Can I still go home for Chinese New Year?" Wenwen suddenly opened her eyes and stared at Qin Guang, who was right in front of her as she said so. Qin Guang's hand that hadn't really touched her retracted as if it had been electrocuted. He panted heavily, "My sister. I'm about to succeed, don't suddenly scare me." Wenwen angrily stepped on his foot. "I don't know what you're afraid of, I didn't say no. You've already retracted your hand at least 8 times. Can you blame me for this?" Qin Guang put on a long face. "What do you know? Although I've more or less accidentally taken advantage of you in the past, this is the first time in my life that I've had the opportunity to take the initiative to feel it. Can you please understand my nervousness a little?" "Screw you. You make it sound like I have a lot of experience being touched by others. This is not the first time in my life. Stop dawdling. I'll give you one last chance. If you waste it again, you can go back to your dorm and pinch your pillow. Hurry up." As Wenwen spoke, she put her hands on Qin Guang's shoulders, straightened her chest and closed her eyes again. Qin Guang took a deep breath. He decided that regardless of whether the sky would collapse in the future, at least at this moment, he must throw away that shameful loser's personality. No matter how unreachable this great goddess one was, no matter whether the person living in her body was a man or a woman, and no matter how much she might regret it later and beat him up. Right now he had to be a brave and valiant man. Qin Guang charged. He raised his hand fiercely, closed his eyes, and pushed his palm forward like a shot put. The distance between his palm and the mountain continued to shrink. This 5 fingers peak of the devil's palm, with resolute courage, crossed time and space, broke through the barrier of fate, fiercely and without regret, and blasted on Maiden's Mountain. They collided. At this moment, Qin Guang finally understood why men's desire to pursue women was so deep-rooted since ancient times. Even if it was just a simple touch, as long as it was done deliberately, that touch, which was filled with the terrifying impact of the creation of heaven and earth and the birth of chaos, was like thousands of lightning bolts starting from his heel and fiercely shot up. A whirlpool-like numbness rushed up from the soles of his feet, passed through his whole body like lightning, and went straight to his head. So, this was the feeling of pinching this maiden's peak. It was really incredible. This is a historical moment. From now on, I, Qin Guang, will finally break free from the shackles, and become a brave man without hesitation. I've taken such a solid step, just like humans stepping on the moon for the first time. But it's strange why in such an epic moment I feel so good that my stomach hurts a little. When he opened his eyes, he saw Wenwen's fist on his stomach. Didn't you find out that my abdominal muscles could have such a strong ability to change shape? If*CK I got beaten up, I knew it would be like this. Ouch. Dragging out a long tremble, Qin Guang clutched his stomach in pain and squatted down on the ground. Wenwen's face was full of apology and hurriedly supported Qin Guang. I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it. I also don't know what happened when you really touched it. I couldn't control my hand for a moment, and when I came back to my senses, it had already hit your stomach. Stop talking, quickly call 120, I can still be saved. Qin Guang roughly understood the meaning of dying under a peony flower, and becoming a ghost was also a romantic principle. Poor him, he only touched the peony flower from afar, and was poked all over his body. Today's encounter reminded him of the same painful punch from many years ago. It was still that familiar smell, the same location, the same injury. After experiencing the slaughter in the sea of time, he was clearly no longer the same as before, but lying on the bed, his stomach still felt waves of cramping pain. He remembered the doctor's sigh from before. Oh my, this is really bad. Did you get hit by a car? Luckily you're strong enough, otherwise you'd be lying in bed for a few days. Sigh, I really have to thank God for being able to live until today. Wenwen was currently sitting by the bed with an apologetic face, rubbing her hands in shame. Don't look at me with such a wronged face, I really didn't mean it. You have inner strength like second uncle, don't try to lie to me. Second uncle spilled the beans last time. I wanted to learn from him, but he refused to teach me. Qin Guang felt that this matter must be brought up, otherwise if this situation continues when the results of the 4th level come out, if she really didn't want him to kiss her through her clothes, she would definitely punch his forehead, and then he would really die under a peony flower. Wenwen nodded helplessly. This is inner strength. Qin Guang immediately continued, Master, I want to learn. For the sake of brothers. Just teach me a little. Otherwise I'll be beaten to death by you sooner or later. Wenwen sighed, I'm willing to teach you, but my family matters can't be explained with just a few words. But my family's matters can't be explained in just a few words. If you want to learn. How? What's the condition? Wenwen's face was filled with helplessness. Then you have to marry me. Is this a hard and fast rule? Qin Guang asked. Wenwen nodded, yes. I can't go against it. Qin Guang spread his hands. I have no problem with it. Risk and benefit always coexist. Get lost. I have a problem with it. Wenwen rejected him decisively. Hearing those words, Qin Guang refused to accept it and continued, Look, the two of us are destined to be single forever. Instead of mocking each other for being single forever, why don't we just clap our hands together and form a pair? I think this is a good idea. Wenwen glanced at him disdainfully, Good my ass. I went to see a psychiatrist some time ago. Damn. What did the psychiatrist say? The psychiatrist said that I will definitely have a tendency of domestic violence in the future. After all, this lady is a little too manly sometimes. The weather is really good today, let's go for a walk. Didn't you say you want to marry me just now? Ah. The so-called marrying Wenwen was just a joke between the two of them. Both of them were used to each other's mischief, but if they really wanted to turn each other into lovers, it would be exceptionally strange. Especially Qin Guang, although he never took the initiative to inquire about Wenwen's family background, he knew that the gap between them was really too big. But he was not anxious because he had the heavenly holy grail. However, it was not a joke, that punch today was worth it, the feeling of that moment could be remembered for half a year, anyway he did not plan to wash his hands this month. Chapter 185. In the next few days, the two of them didn't have much time to play games. After passing the CET4 exam as a university student, the next thing they had to face was the final exam that the straight-A students were looking forward to and the straight-A students were terrified of. Qin Guang didn't go to the sports car anymore. He only went to the city hospital every 1 or 2 days and spent most of the rest of his time cramming for the final exam. As a senior straight-A student, he had a lot of experience in last-minute training. In less than a week, relying on his skillful experience, he passed 3 tests in a row and solved the exams of 3 compulsory courses. Thank God he would have more than a week of rest, and the next exam would be on June 27th. Although he had the fate of a protagonist with a magical artifact, he still had to be hung up and punished by his father if he failed. Old Master Qin Guang was also panicking in his heart. These days he didn't even have the mood to ambush the heavenly Holy Grail's world in the cup. Anyway, there was still no movement from the heavenly Holy Grail, so he couldn't defend against it. If it weren't for Lioli's fairy-like face that would still occasionally appear in his dreams at night, Qin Guang would almost think that his heavenly Holy Grail was really an ordinary cup. Today he woke up abnormally early because he couldn't contain his excitement. After waiting for a long time, the 2 celebrities on his left and right hand were finally coming back from abroad. Their plane would arrive at Wujing Airport at about noon. In order to come to Wujing City, the 2 of them seemed to have really given themselves a long vacation. The 2 women who lived under the spotlight all year round played a big trick on the outside media. They made people think that they were still in the United States, but they had quietly boarded the plane back to China. The only people who knew that the 2 women were returning to China at this time were probably the passengers and flight attendants in the first-class cabin. There was no time for others to find a way to inform the reporters or paparazzi. The 2 of them made up their minds to look for Qin Guang as soon as they got off the plane, so they didn't arrange for a private car to pick them up. They knew that Qin Guang was online, so they directly asked Qin Guang to pick them up at the airport. Usually, when a certain celebrity left the airport on TV, he would be surrounded by all kinds of cameras and paparazzi, as if he had accidentally revealed his whereabouts. He would have to call for a large number of bodyguards to protect him before he could successfully walk out of the airport. In fact, those who knew the ropes all knew that this so-called leaking of their whereabouts was completely intentional. Usually, the purpose of doing this was to cover up the whereabouts of celebrities. A trip like this needed to be done with great fanfare, to promote a new film, a new song, or something else. Even if you were a celebrity like Wazai, it wouldn't be difficult for you to sneak out and land without anyone noticing. As a top-notch taxi driver, Qin Guang took a refreshing cold shower early in the morning. Then he deliberately changed into a summer outfit that he thought was the best. It was a Hawaiian-style floral shirt and loose and handsome Hawaiian pants. He grabbed the styling gel that Lin Jingwei had been spraying on his head recently and sprayed it all over his head as if it was free. Then he combed his hair into a handsome windmill hairstyle. Master Guang decided to use his best condition to welcome the Patek Philippe, oh no, the 2 friends who could save his mother's life. Just as he was about to go out, Bai Nyangzi walked out of the dormitory in slippers with narrowed eyes. He saw Qin Guang in the living room looking at the mirror and showing off his good looks as usual before going out. He complained, "Brother Guang, are you going on a blind date?" Qin Guang rolled his eyes at him in disdain. "What do you know? I'm going to earn big money. Are you really a gigolo? TSK with this hairstyle, Lin Jingwei's gel has almost been sprayed dry by you. There was still a third of it left when I secretly used it yesterday." As Bai Nyangzi complained on behalf of Lin Jingwei, he maliciously attacked Qin Guang's head with lightning speed, intending to destroy the hairstyle that he had painstakingly managed to do. Then the naive young man Bai Nyangzi let out a blood-curdling scream, while Qin Guang flashed an expression that said, "You deserve it," and swaggered off. Bai Nyangzi looked at his heavily injured right hand, wanting to cry but having no tears. Damn it! How hard did this grandson's hair get? It's bleeding from all the poking. There must be a hedgehog on his head. After throwing the bag into the car and placing the heavenly holy grail on the cup holder, Qin Guang whistled and went out the door. In the bag in the front passenger seat, there was a knitted scarf that he only used in winter and a pair of sunglasses that he had originally planned to buy to show off, but he had only worn it once. Don't ask him why he brought these things. Today he was going to pick up his left and right hand. If he wasn't prepared and someone took a picture of them and posted it on the internet, he would have to be prepared to say goodbye to his peaceful and comfortable life. Things like international flights were always unpredictable. Most of the time, it would arrive late to the point where it made people want to die. But occasionally, it would arrive an hour early, making people waiting at the airport to be picked up cry silently. For ordinary people, arriving early might be a good thing, but considering the special circumstances of his left and right hand, it would most likely turn into a terrible disaster if they were to stay at the airport for an hour. That was why Qin Guang left so early today. Halfway through the car, he hesitated for a long time and decided to do something. For his left and right hand, giving a Patek Philippe watch might be a simple way to express their gratitude. But for Qin Guang, the significance of this watch was too great. Regardless of whether the other person cared or not, Qin Guang felt that he should express enough gratitude for the other person's kindness. Therefore he parked the car at a roadside flower shop, spared no effort to buy a large bouquet of white bell-shaped flowers and put it in the trunk. The flower language of the white bell-shaped flowers was gratitude and gratitude. Although he didn't like Jiang Yage, Qin Guang felt that although friendship was beautiful, it also had to be worldly. If someone was nice to you, you couldn't be so thick-skinned and ungrateful and accept it. People should know how to be grateful. He didn't have much money, so he couldn't give anything valuable, but it wasn't too much to give a bunch of flowers with no extra meaning to express his gratitude. Such a simple gift wouldn't cause any misunderstanding, so why not? It took about half an hour to wrap the bouquet, and it was already 10:30 in the morning when he arrived at the airport. Qin Guang parked the car in the parking lot, walked briskly to the exit of the international flight, and began the long wait. He was so bored that he bought an entertainment newspaper, which was rare. He returned to the parking lot, leaned against his car door and started reading. The headline of the newspaper was about Big Beard Deng's new movie that was about to finish filming. As a non-professional best actor, Qin Guang slapped his forehead. Before he saw the newspaper, he didn't even know the name of the movie. He didn't even know the theme and plot of the movie from beginning to end. I'm really sorry for the 180,000 yuan that Big Beard Deng and Zhou Yi gave me. Should I write an article on Duban later to brag about this movie? Tears Last Days, Qin Guang smiled. Looking at the title of the movie, Big Beard Deng seemed to have a big plan. Sure enough, this was a war epic about a fictional historical environment, depicting two women who played different roles in the chaos of war. One was a valiant heroine, and the other was the only daughter of a loyal minister who lost his country. The whole movie revolved around the two women, one martial and one literary, drawing a picture of turbulent mountains and rivers. It told the story of the ups and downs of a dynasty, the suffering of the people, and also indirectly promoted anti-war ideas. Qin Guang thought of the deputy general he played and laughed. The two characters were so deep, but he was just a brainless, short-tempered, murderous boor. He couldn't help but look forward to it. What would it be like when his classmates or other acquaintances saw his handsome face in the movie theater? Chapter 186. Usually he didn't read entertainment gossip, but today he had to receive two celebrities. It was urgent to improve his business skills. As he flipped through the pages, he unknowingly became interested. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was almost 12 o'clock. Qin Guang came back to his senses. Oh my God, I've been standing beside the car like a fool for an hour. I don't even feel tired. Either my stamina is too good, or I comprehended Wenwen's inner force when I punched her that day. That's right. That must be it. Just then, the roar of an engine came from the parking lot. It sounded like a sports car. Qin Guang turned his head and saw a Bentley Continental pass the parking lot gate. It started to step on the accelerator and rushed straight towards him. There was an empty spot next to Qin Guang's car. After a short pause, the Bentley stared at the spot and swerved to the back of Qin Guang's car. Then it rushed to the back of Qin Guang's car and swooped into the garage. The whole process was smooth without any pause, and it was very cool. Qin Guang raised his eyebrows in disdain. What's the point of being arrogant about a mere Continental? The person standing in front of you is the god of racing. I just drove a Porsche 918 a few days ago. I'll buy a few of your cars for one. My driving skills are way better than yours. Although the person beside me is just a poor little Rena, it doesn't stop me from not being able to stand your shameless pretentious behavior. Then the Bentley's driver's door opened, and a figure that could barely be considered familiar came out. Qin Guang curled his lips. It was an old acquaintance. It's been a long time. The person who came out of the car was Zheng He. He seemed to be alone. After getting out of the car, he took out his keys to lock the car and turned to leave. Then he glanced at Qin Guang out of the corner of his eye. Just as he turned his head, he immediately turned back with a faint smile on his face. Seeing this face, Qin Guang had a thought in his mind. This grandson is looking for a beating. Actually, when Zheng He saw Qin Guang, he had very complicated feelings. Previously, he only thought of Qin Guang as a stinky loser that could be stepped on. He didn't take him seriously at all. He didn't expect that when he brought people to teach him a lesson twice, he would be easily dealt with. The second time, Kim Jongpan, he finally managed to invite an expert, but he didn't even last for one round. He was knocked to the ground by Qin Guang backhand. He was so embarrassed that he pissed his pants. At that time, Zheng He was very unwilling to accept it. He even planned to use some really deadly means. But later he changed his mind because Wenwen asked second uncle to put some pressure on Zheng He's father, so he had to restrain himself for the time being. As the saying goes, enemies are bound to meet here. Initially, Zheng He intended to turn a blind eye to Qin Guang and leave. But in the blink of an eye, he felt that Qin Guang was just a little more skilled in fighting, and it would be too shameful for him to run away upon encountering Qin Guang. It was as if he was really afraid of Qin Guang. In addition, he ran into Qin Guang and Wenwen in the library later. At that time, Zheng He was so jealous that he almost burned. It took him a lot of effort to control his emotions. There were so many seats in the parking lot today. It was a coincidence that he came here at that time. Even God wanted him to embarrass him. You can't hit me just because I teased you, right? TSK, look at your broken car. What the hell is this? Yo, Qin Guang, what a coincidence. Yo, your car is not bad. Zheng He held the car key in his hand and walked in the direction of Qin Guang. F***ck, relying on your father's ability to buy you a broken Bentley, isn't it? Although this brother's car isn't worth much, it has followed me everywhere. We have a deep relationship, okay? You humiliated my life partner in front of me. This brother is very angry. The Bentley your father bought for you is also not bad. Qin Guang said in a low muffled voice. You, the dignified young master Zheng, actually remember my name. Aren't you afraid of lowering your status? Zheng He slightly adjusted the collar of his white shirt, then lowered his head to fiddle with a few specks of dust on his leather shoes. He then glanced at Qin Guang. Of course I have to remember your name, but it has nothing to do with you. It's only because you are Wenwen's friend. If I were you, I wouldn't shamelessly pester Wenwen. Let me repeat what I told you in the beginning. There is an insurmountable barrier between you and Wenwen. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. He thought to himself, you are the one shamelessly pestering Wenwen, not me. I am the one being pestered by Wenwen. Well, you continue to provoke me. Just one more sentence and I can almost beat you up. Come, don't be a coward. Master Guang's threat was so straightforward. If he said he wanted to beat you up, he didn't want to talk to you at all. Qin Guang's gloomy tone reminded Zheng He of the day when he was first slapped by Qin Guang, then grabbed by his collar and directly threatened his life. He couldn't help but feel a little creeped out. Zheng He's mouth twitched. He really didn't expect to run into Qin Guang here. Today he came alone without a bodyguard by his side. Now he really didn't feel the slightest sense of security. Of course, based on what happened to Kim Jongpan that day, an ordinary bodyguard might not be enough. However, he was unwilling to let him leave with his tail between his legs. He could only force a smile. We are all classmates in the same school. Your attitude is too bad. I was just joking with you. Don't mind me. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand such a high-end joke. We are not the same kind of people. Don't make such jokes that will easily cause me to misunderstand. It's better for the two of us to maintain a distance. This is good for everyone. Don't you think so? Qin Guang moved in front of Zheng He and looked at him indifferently. Qin Guang wasn't joking with Zheng He. He had experienced the instantaneous ocean and was no longer the same as before. Otherwise he might have really been crippled by Kim Jongpan back then. The reason why Qin Guang's attitude towards Zheng He was so vile and domineering was because he knew that as long as this person still had thoughts about Wenwen, there was no way he could feign civility with him. Rather than that, he might as well give him a sufficient sense of threat so that he wouldn't dare to act rashly. Qin Guang didn't know that if it wasn't for Wenwen's pressure, Zheng He wouldn't be so calm after being threatened by him. He really thought that it was his murderous aura that scared Zheng He. After saying that, Qin Guang didn't want to bother with him anymore. He folded the gossip newspaper in his hand and turned to walk towards the exit. Calculating the time, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue's plane was about to land. He didn't expect that Zheng He and the others would also come out from the international flight exit. The two of them finally met here. However, with the previous lesson, Zheng He didn't run to Qin Guang's side to invite a snub. Instead, he stood at the other side with a calm face. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 187. Zheng He knew that Qin Guang usually ran online to earn money. Although he had never used it, he seemed to have heard that some people would increase the price of an online booking in advance when they came back from abroad so that they could get off the plane and leave as soon as possible. Therefore, Zheng He speculated that Qin Guang had accepted the booking and came over to earn extra money. Thinking about the person he was going to pick up today, Zheng He rolled his eyes and had an idea. Qin Guang held the newspaper behind his back with one hand and held his phone with the other. He stretched his neck to look inside. The notice board had already shown that Jin Jiang and Jin Yu's plane had arrived. It was estimated that they would be coming out soon. On the other side, Zheng He was hiding in a corner and talking to someone on the phone. This grandson had actually contacted the person he was going to pick up first. Qin Guang was a little unhappy. The old man had lost in such a small matter. According to the text message sent by Jiang Yage during the transfer, Qin Guang knew that the two of them were wearing light blue jackets and large frame sunglasses that covered most of their faces. Jiang Yage was wearing a pink sun hat, while Jin Shiyue was wearing a sky blue sun hat. With such distinctive characteristics, Qin Guang felt that he should be able to easily recognize the two of them. As for why he didn't hold up a sign? What a joke. With my domineering handsomeness, I don't need to hold up a sign. Even if I hid in a crowd, I would definitely be recognized at a glance. Just as he was staring with his eyes wide open, a graceful figure suddenly jumped out from in front of him and bumped into him. There was an assassin. Qin Guang reacted quickly and retreated. You want to assassinate me? Practice for another 10 years. Just as he was feeling proud, the figure in front of him shook her hand. Then a large glass of orange juice flew out of her hand like a hidden weapon and hit Qin Guang's clothes. The fresh and hot orange juice splashed and enchanted his Hawaiian suit with a layer of bright orange. This damned assassin had a long-range weapon and the old man fell for it. Qin Guang was infuriated. There were at least 100 people at the exit. Why don't you just scatter it all over my body? My Hawaiian suit is very expensive. I didn't hesitate to spend a lot of money to buy this when I was still a second-generation rich kid in the urban-rural fringe. It added up to more than 1,000. Sorry. I was too careless. I'm sorry. Seeing that she was in trouble, the graceful figure first used her hand to lift her sunglasses, then stretched out a pair of slender hands to touch Qin Guang's body, as if she was going to wipe the orange juice off his body. Qin Guang pushed her hand away impatiently. Miss, please be more dignified. I'm not familiar with you. However, the woman did not let it go. As she spoke, she reached out to pull on Qin Guang's clothes. Her words were even more apologetic. I'm really sorry for dirtying your clothes, sir. Are you waiting for someone? Why don't you come with me to the city and I'll buy you a new suit? As the woman spoke, she moved her face closer and closer. Then, without changing her expression, she quickly took off her sunglasses, revealing an apologetic face and quickly put them back on. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. Oh, what's going on today? I haven't even caught up with the big shots in my left and right hands, and I've already bumped into a fish that slipped through the net? The woman's movements were very fast, but Qin Guang still recognized her from a glance. She was actually a rising popular movie star. The TV series she starred in had just become popular all over the country. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was the most popular person in the past 2 months. Qin Guang knew this person because of the entertainment newspaper just now. The headline of the newspaper was Big Beard Deng's, The Tears of a Country Run Dry, and the headline of the subpage was This Woman's Scandals. The writing was quite deep and meaningful. Qin Guang purely read it as a YY novel. He didn't expect to actually bump into the main character here. This feeling was very fresh. It was a little strange. Didn't the gossip say that she had a bad temper and liked to act like a big shot? If that's the case, it's nothing more than wet my clothes. Is there a need to be so shameless and put on such an apologetic look in front of me? I always feel that something is wrong. To borrow a famous saying from Big Beard Deng on the set, your acting is a bit too much. In the distance, Zheng He put his hands behind his back with a smile on his face as if everything was under control. Looking at this scene, he sneered in his heart. Qin Guang, you definitely can't imagine this. This is a big gift I prepared for you. You just accept it? That's right, Zheng He was originally going to pick up this woman. After deciding to mess with Qin Guang, Zheng He changed his mind. There were stars that could be slept with at any time, but the opportunity to make Qin Guang leave one's side was quite rare. Let this woman use the identity of a dignified star to seduce a little loser like Qin Guang, it was almost in the bag. This woman was also worthy of being a popular movie star. The charm in her movements was natural, and the apologetic and pitiful look in her eyes after doing something wrong. Zheng He, who was secretly observing, could only give a thumbs up. Perfect acting. As long as Qin Guang fell into the trap and brought this woman back to the city, the two of them would have sex again and ask her to quietly leave some evidence. Even if she had to erase her own face, as long as he sent photos and videos of Qin Guang and another woman to Wenwen, he didn't believe that the great goddess Wen would forgive him, this cheating man. Zheng He's plan was very good. Qin Guang almost fell for it. If he hadn't read the newspaper and had suspicions, and if he hadn't been obsessed with Jiang Yage and Zhuo Jingxi's Patek Philippe, he wouldn't have believed that the great goddess one would forgive him, this cheating man. At this time the two of them were entangled and almost hugging each other. Qin Guang was also kind. Although he was a little annoyed with her, in the end he still held back and didn't fly into a rage. He thought, you are a big shot after all. If I really make a fuss and let passers-by see the show, it won't be good for you. Moreover, this woman was indeed quite good. In addition, she wasn't wearing thick clothes. Her curvaceous body was rubbing against Qin Guang's body under the pretense of helping him wipe his clothes. Qin Guang had already retreated to the corner of the wall. There was no way out. His heart was very complicated. He was annoyed and happy at the same time. He almost couldn't help but shout for help. Damn it. I just saw the gossip about you. I know that you are a powerful social butterfly in the world, but your skills are a little too profound. You just randomly grab someone and use your skills. To be honest, the old man, can't control your plump body like this. Sir, I'm really sorry. If the person you are waiting for is not particularly important, why don't we go downtown now? I have already booked a room in the hotel. When we get there, I will personally help you change your clothes, okay? The woman put her mouth close to Qin Guang's ear and gently breathed out her warm breath to tease him. Please move aside. The person I am waiting for is very important, more important than you. At this critical moment, Qin Guang's reason finally won the upper hand. The social butterfly looked delicious, but Patek Philippe was still more tempting. Besides, although my car is broken and lousy, I have to drive the left and right hands of the national idol. Not good enough. What? The woman was shocked. She didn't expect that she couldn't even handle such a little boy after using all her skills. Her eyes subconsciously drifted to Zheng He's side. Seeing this, Zheng He knew that he was in trouble. Qin Guang was very sharp. He saw the key point in an instant. Just now he saw that Zheng He was talking to someone on the phone, but he didn't see the person he was waiting for. Moreover, when the woman came out, she was walking steadily. But when she came in front of him, she inexplicably tripped her right foot with her left foot. The large glass of orange juice flew out of her hand like a precision-guided missile. That shameful performance at the end was too dramatic. So you were sent by Zheng He to make fun of me from the very beginning. Poor Qin Guang, he still didn't know that Zheng He's teasing was really to give him a beautiful encounter. Otherwise he might be quite regretful. Chapter 188. Are you done with your act? If you're done, get out of the way. Otherwise I'll shout your name out loud. There are so many people here. You'll be in for a treat. A celebrity? I don't think you're any better than a prostitute. You flew all the way to Wujing to deliver a package to Zheng He, didn't you? Since they're Zheng He's people, then they're enemies. Hence, Qin Guang wasn't polite with his words. The female celebrity looked a little embarrassed, but she quickly composed herself and walked toward Zheng He. Zheng He sighed. He knew he was exposed. He glared at the female celebrity when she walked over but did not say anything. Holding onto a damp newspaper, Qin Guang walked in the direction of the two of them. Zheng He thought he was going to hit him, so he took a step back. Qin Guang, don't do anything stupid. In front of so many people. Qin Guang waved his hand impatiently. Fine, fine. I know you're a coward. You don't have to say it again. As he said that, Qin Guang flipped to the page with the female celebrity gossip. He chuckled and said, Young Master Zheng, you have a good appetite. Let me help you count how many people there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. Yes, I'm impressed. Qin Guang was furious when he thought about how this bastard looked down on him and how he had sent such a piece of trash to seduce him. He almost fell for it. If he did not come over to disgust this bastard, he would feel suffocated. Zheng He blushed. The female celebrity was also a little embarrassed. Although the gossip in the newspaper was mostly false, she was not clean herself. If it had been someone else, she would have been furious if she had been slapped in the face with this kind of gossip. Unfortunately, when this person came over just now, even Zheng He, the son of the chairman of New Radiance Entertainment, showed his fear. How could the female star dare to treat Qin Guang as a loser anymore? She only thought that this person was Zheng He's sworn enemy. When she thought about how she was actually involved in the fight between the two young masters, she was so nervous that cold air came out from the soles of her feet. Zheng He was embarrassed and felt that he had lost face again. He gritted his teeth and thought, damn it, I don't believe that this brat would dare to attack me in public. I promised my father that I wouldn't take the initiative to provoke him, but I didn't say that I can't resist him if he wants to ride on my head, right? Qin Guang. Don't be so harsh with your words. There wasn't a single woman in the entertainment industry who was completely clean. You're saying the grapes are sour when you can't eat them. Zheng he said through gritted teeth. It was undeniable that what he said made sense. The so-called dirty and clean were all relative. To a man, being able to obtain a woman with a certain level of fame was something that gave him a sense of achievement. It didn't matter what other past she had. Chen Guang wanted to be stubborn and say that he wouldn't be interested in a woman like her even if she sent herself to his bed. But he actually looked like he was enjoying himself just now. He couldn't bring himself to say that. Yo Zheng family's young master, why do your words sound so harsh? Why don't you repeat it for me? At this moment, a sweet voice came from behind Chen Guang. It turned out that Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei had come out. They were standing behind Chen Guang with their arms crossed. They were indeed in the attire that they had described to Chen Guang. They were two guards in blue, one on the left and the other on the right. Zheng he was stunned at first and was about to fly into a rage. He looked up at the woman wearing a pink sun hat behind Chen Guang and felt that she was vaguely familiar. Stop staring. I'm Jiang Yage. I'm also a woman in the entertainment industry. Did you just say that I'm not clean? Jiang Yage said fiercely. Zheng he's eyes opened wider and wider. He felt that he had really barged into an evil spirit today. What the F***ck was going on? He was just disgusting Chen Guang. How did Jiang Yage hear it? Wuxia was vast and boundless with a sea of people. How did she hear it? Did she have 8 lifetimes of bad luck? What kind of coincidence was this? As Zheng Yunhao's son, under Zheng Yunhao's guidance, he was fortunate enough to be in the circle of Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage. That was why Jiang Yage recognized him. Zheng he also knew the real background of Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage. Perhaps it wouldn't matter if most of the other female stars in the entertainment industry heard what he said, but it just had to be these two. This was troublesome. He couldn't care less about losing face in front of Chen Guang. Zheng he lowered his head slightly. I'm sorry. I was just angry in a moment and wanted to say something to let that poor brat Chen Guang know the gap between me and him. I didn't expect the two of you to hear it. It really wasn't my intention. I was just saying it out of anger. It can't be taken seriously. Chen Guang didn't expect that Jiang Yage and Zheng he actually knew each other. Moreover, it seemed that Jiang Yage was a little more assertive. As a gossipy citizen in the past, he had also participated in guessing the real background of his left and right hands. It was only today that he had really glimpsed the tip of the iceberg. The waters of this world are so deep. Fortunately, I'm a good swimmer and won't drown. Dear Guang, he said that you're a poor brat. What should we do? Right at this moment, Jiang Yage suddenly said this behind Chen Guang. Then she gently held onto Chen Guang's arm. **ck. The same word suddenly rang in the hearts of both Zheng He and Chen Guang. However, this feeling was completely different. In just a moment, this simple action of Jiang Yage had turned Chen Guang from a chicken into a phoenix in an instant. He was about to ascend to the heavens. Zheng He was trembling all over. He was all too clear about Chen Guang's real background. He was definitely not the son of some big shot. But what was going on with this guy? It was one thing for Wenwen to favor him. But what was up with Jiang Yage today? She definitely wouldn't lower herself to hold Chen Guang's arm just to embarrass him. It was just a harmless tease, and he had immediately apologized to her face. Her behavior could only mean that these two were really familiar with each other. Moreover, their relationship wasn't ordinary. Chen Guang also started to panic. Big sis, our relationship hasn't reached this stage. I can't take it when you act like you're familiar with us. I've just found out that your background isn't ordinary, but you suddenly did this. God knows if there are 70 to 80,000 of your family's bodyguards pointing their sniper rifles at my head. Tomorrow, I'll vanish from the face of the earth? Moreover, what if this grandson Zheng He ran to Wenwen and gossiped about me? What am I afraid of? I'm just good brothers with Wenwen. In short, there were so many people here. I mustn't let the onlookers who were gradually paying attention to this side see through Jin Zhang's identity. I haven't put on my sunglasses and scarf. What if someone takes a picture and posts it on the internet? That's right. Brother Chen Guang Shuiwei is also very angry. At this moment, Jin Shuiwei, who had been standing quietly behind Chen Guang, also did something that exceeded everyone's expectations. Even Jiang Yage was shocked. Jin Shuiwei actually held onto Chen Guang's arm. Being attacked from both sides, Chen Guang's brain crashed. Who can save me? What should I do now? Someone is going to take a picture. My life is going to be ruined. Zheng He was completely speechless. Although Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei were both wearing sunglasses and makeup, making it hard for passers-by to recognize them, Their action of fighting for a husband was really too scary. Zheng He felt that his worldview was about to collapse. Chapter 189. Zheng He felt that he could not stay any longer. Compared to the two women who were holding on to Qin Guang's left and right hands, the little movie star that he was so proud of earlier had become a tragedy. He was clearly the future successor of New Radiance, but he was wearing a pair of worn-out shoes that had been worn out. On the other hand, Qin Guang was wearing 2 pairs of crystal and diamond shoes that everyone could only dream of. "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving first. I'll come back another day to apologize." Zheng He's face was flushed red as he bowed deeply at Jiang Yage before turning to leave. The starlet, who was already pale with fright, bowed deeply at Qin Guang. "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin, I really... scram?" Jiang Yage did not let her finish her sentence. "What a joke, my big brother Qin Guang is someone that a fickle woman like you can cozy up to." The starlet shuddered and quickly turned to chase after Zheng He. It was obvious that Zheng He did not want to see her anymore. When she caught up to Zheng He from afar, she was pushed to the ground with a slap. However, she still struggled to get up and continued to follow behind Zheng He. Qin Guang sighed softly in his heart. Actually, this kind of woman was very pitiful. She did not do anything wrong. It was only because Zheng He had lost face because of her that she was treated coldly. Yet, she still had to follow him like a dog, wagging her tail and begging for pity because she could not afford to offend Zheng He. People would only become humble and submissive when they had something to ask for. Only someone like me who has no desires can live a free and easy life in this world of materialistic desires, right? "Big brother Qin Guang, I have the watch with me. But if you want it, I have a condition." Jiang Yage moved her mouth close to his ear again and whispered softly. "Damn it, I failed to act cool. I'm kneeling. Don't dawdle here. Someone is already suspecting your identities. Let's go." Qin Guang calmly pulled his hands out of the arms of the two women and took the lead to walk forward. Although the beauty was good, he did not dare to enjoy it. The two of them were too famous, and deep in Qin Guang's heart he really didn't want to have that kind of weird relationship with them. On the internet, there were too many vivid examples of ordinary people mixing with celebrities, and their lives were completely exposed to the spotlight. Qin Guang really didn't want that to happen. Being the underwear Superman for the two of them had already made him extremely distressed. If he were to become the celebrity's boyfriend again, he would really be poor. He also didn't know how much pressure he would have to face from their families. He couldn't bear it. Why were there 2 of them? Qin Guang slapped his forehead. Just now, he held Jiang Yage's hand. Although he was caught unprepared, with this woman's usual temperament, it seemed to be reasonable. Jin Shiyue's action made him a bit confused. Jiang Yage also couldn't understand. The 2 women followed behind Qin Guang. She whispered to Jin Shiyue and asked, "Big sister Shiyue, why were you holding his hand just now?" Women were like this. No matter how good their relationship was, there were some things that they weren't willing to share with others. Jin Shiyue knew what Jiang Yage was concerned about, but only faintly smiled. "Didn't you want to help him scare that New Light's Zheng family's young master? Just you alone isn't enough. Didn't you see how scared that Zheng fellow was when I also held his hand? He must be doubting his life when he goes back, right?" Jiang Yage immediately let go of her wariness. She convulsed with laughter and heavily patted Jin Shiyue's shoulder. That's right, that's right. Look at his expression just now. It's as if he saw the end of the world. Ah." Qin Guang, who was walking in front, eavesdropped on the two's whispering, but didn't say anything. He had a feeling that Jin Shiyue's actions weren't that simple. After all, the strength she used to hold his hand wasn't lighter than Jiang Yage's. Perhaps she used even more strength? When the 3 of them arrived at the car park, Zheng He had already driven away in his broken Bentley. At this moment, Qin Guang was feeling smug. You might be driving a Bentley, but your car is filled with worn-out shoes. On the other hand, I might be driving a tattered Rena, but my car is more refined than yours. At first, Jiang Yage wanted to sit in the front passenger seat, but Qin Guang wouldn't agree no matter what. The glass sticker next to the front passenger seat wasn't very bright. He was afraid that people would recognize Jiang Yage from the outside, so he chased the 2 of them to the back seat. "Should I send you to the hotel directly to rest?" Bringing out his professionalism as a driver, Qin Guang asked out of concern since the 2 of them had just returned from a long journey, so they definitely needed a good rest. Unexpectedly, both Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue shook their heads. Jiang Yage blinked playfully and said, "We almost turned into cocoons on the plane. Why would we go to the hotel? Didn't I say it just now?" The watch will definitely be given to Brother Qin Guang, but there are conditions. Jin Shuiyue poked Jiang Ye's waist, asking her to restrain herself. Jiang Ye didn't agree. Sister Shuiyue, don't poke me. We have agreed before that I will be fully responsible for the watch. Jin Shuiyue sighed and didn't say anything more. Qin Guang slapped himself in the face. Damn, the old man is walking further and further away from the path of having no desires. You can't expect me to repay you with my body just for this watch, right? To be honest, I will make a lot of money that way. Resigned to his fate, Qin Guang turned around and put one hand on the back of the driver's seat. Say it, what do you want? Now that things have come to this, I won't die to save face and suffer. I admit that I am a greedy person. I really like this watch. Jiang Ye saw that he was so serious and was slightly surprised. She looked at him with a burning gaze. Do you have any difficulties? Qin Guang shook his head. Nothing, it's nothing. He knew that Jiang Ye might want to give him more benefits, but he really wasn't such a shameless person. The so-called life-saving grace was nothing to him. Shamelessly taking a watch worth hundreds of thousands had already touched the bottom line of a man's dignity deep in his heart. What's more, he wasn't talking nonsense. This was indeed enough. In addition, how could he let these two people know that he took the watch to sell for money? He still had to put on a good show. Jiang Ye knew that he wanted to save face. Seeing that he didn't want to say more, she didn't continue to pester him on this matter. Although she was stupid from time to time, she wasn't really stupid. She was willing to take care of Qin Guang's pride. All right then. Come and take it. After Jiang Ye said that, she took out a watch from her handbag, pulled open her collar and threw it inside. Then she puffed out her chest and looked at Qin Guang expectantly. Hearing those words, Qin Guang's face turned dark as he inwardly cursed. If it wasn't for the fact that you're willing to sacrifice yourself to push Jin Shuiyue into my embrace, I wouldn't have a good first impression of you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to be friends with you for the rest of my life. You better be more like it. In the end, he couldn't hold it in. This was too much of a bully. Chapter 190. Seeing that Qin Guang was angry, Jin Shuiyue poked Jiang Ye with all her might. Jiang Ye blushed. I accidentally got carried away again. How would they know that Qin Guang's angry look was just a facade? In fact, he was also in a dilemma. Should he take the watch or not? He was not sure if Jiang Ye was serious or just teasing him. After all, this woman had too many bad records. He asked himself. From this angle, Jiang Ye's plump breasts were indeed very attractive. Qin Guang had seen Jiang Ye's dance performance on TV more than once. Although Jiang Ye's left and right hand were not famous for their dance music, that was only because the two women's talents were too comprehensive. She had been dancing for a long time, so her figure was far more fit and beautiful than the average person. Her natural perky breasts were even more attractive under her deliberate perky breasts. It was not hard to imagine that the elasticity must be excellent. If I really take it, can I really put my hand into her neckline? But is it possible that she is testing me on purpose? If I really put my hand in, will she and Jin Shuiyue look down on me? Damn. It's very possible. You are so vicious, digging such a big hole for me out of nowhere. How can a gentleman like me give in so easily? Qin Guang continued to keep a straight face and activated his sage mode. Jiang Ye looked at Qin Guang timidly. She was a little scared. But no one knew what was going on in her mind. She suddenly plucked up her courage and clenched her teeth. Fight. She, who was sitting in the back row, suddenly stretched out her hand and grabbed Qin Guang's hand that was hanging in midair. Then she stretched it towards her chest. Damn. I'm going to explode. Qin Guang roared in his heart. Take it. Oh my God, I suddenly feel weak. There must be something wrong. Well, it's my moral integrity that is broken. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Ye pulled Qin Guang's hand to her chest. She was also flustered and didn't aim at the right angle, causing her to bump into Qin Guang. The claw deviated by 3 inches and hit one of the peaks, almost flattening it. For a brief moment, Qin Guang was at a loss as to what to do. Jin Shuiyue was also shocked by Jiang Ye's sudden action. She looked at Qin Guang and thought that he was going to get angry, so she quickly pulled Jiang Ye's hand. Jiang Ye's mind instantly sobered up. When she looked at Qin Guang's bulging eyes, she was also scared. When she thought of her behavior just now, she felt that she was crazy. She quickly let go of Qin Guang's hand and squeezed out an apologetic expression. She pouted and took out the watch from her chest and handed it to him. Here. I'm sorry. It's rare to see you. I was too happy. I was just joking with you. Really, thank you for saving my life. I hope you don't mind. This is Sister Shirue's and my kind intentions. It's a rare limited edition Patek Philippe. It's not the kind that can be bought online. Patek Philippe finally got his hands on it, but Chen Guang's mood of being stimulated by Jiang Yage just now was gone. Finally you're here. My Patek Philippe. Jiang Yage's white jade-like fingers gently rested on the watch. The watch mirror made of natural sapphire was so bright and dazzling under the sunlight. The round and steady dial shone with a silver metallic luster. The hands inside and even every scale on the dial looked so perfect and harmonious. It was simply a work of art that excelled the workmanship of nature. The lines on the crocodile skin strap were so fine and neat, so exquisite that people couldn't bear to touch it. Looking at it quietly, Chen Guang tried to control his breathing and heartbeat. He didn't want to appear so worldly, but this watch was really too important. It was so important that he felt that his heartbeat was about to stop just by looking at it. Jean Shirue on the side took on the role of the commentator. This watch was brought back from Geneva by a friend of mine a few days ago. It is said that it is one of the most satisfactory works of Patek Philippe's chief master, Bronte Comet. Of course, it is only a property after all. It is not as precious as life. When you saved our lives, someone took a video. We saw you sprinting against time in the water, and we also thought that giving you this watch is the best way to express our gratitude. It's nothing. It's really nothing. Everything is predestined. For me to appear there at that time, it was also fate. It was fate. Even without me, maybe someone else could have done it. Chen Guang said, but his heart was beating faster. He had checked the price of Patek Philippe on the internet. He thought it was at most 500,000 or 600,000 yuan. But listening to Jiang Yage and Jean Shirue, it seemed that 500,000 or 600,000 yuan was not enough to buy this watch. Although he didn't know Bronte Comet, since he was called the chief, the things he made would not be cheaper than those mass-produced by others. Just like the same brush calligraphy, some people's calligraphy was worth more than 10,000 yuan, while some people's rice paper could only be piled up at home. Well, the more valuable it was, the better. Chen Guang slowly reached out and approached the watch little by little. He even blamed Jiang Yage in his heart. Such a valuable thing, but you put it in your bag casually instead of putting it in a box. What if it was scratched? At this moment, Jiang Yage's fingers accidentally shook, and the Patek Philippe slipped from her fingers and fell to the ground in front of the three people's stunned eyes. I was scared to death. I was scared to death. Fortunately, there was no damage. Chen Guang carefully put the watch into the box and glared at Jiang Yage. Be careful. Look, after I got the thing, I instantly recovered my domineering attitude. Jiang Yage felt wronged. My skin is too good. I didn't expect it to be so smooth. Did you eat slippery fruit? Chen Guang was ready to start the car and leave. Let me tell you. When I saved the two of you that day, Jean Shirue had already lost consciousness. You're probably still a little conscious. At that time, I admired you. You actually pushed Jean Shirue over and you were pushed far away. At that time, I simply admired you and felt that you were a living great man. But now, you have completely destroyed your image of a great man in my heart. Your star image and the light of a saint in my heart have completely collapsed. Ah? There is such a thing? I have no impression at all. Sister Shirue, don't listen to his nonsense. Jiang Yage looked like she didn't remember at all. Ba. What image of a saint? I am not so noble. Jean Shirue trembled slightly. She squeezed out a complicated smile on her face and glanced at Jiang Yage. Yage? Jiang Yage waved her hand like an electric fan. Sister Shirue, don't look at me like that. I don't believe it myself. Chen Guang, don't talk nonsense. She appeared to be very flustered. Chen Guang didn't expect that after he accidentally said this, it would make the two women so embarrassed. That's true. After all, it's a life. Who can face it calmly? But looking at Jiang Yage's appearance, it seems that she has always remembered it. Jean Shirue only found out today. Well, I took the initiative to help this deceiving woman repair her image. Forget it, I will help them divert attention. If I knew that you didn't want to let Jean Shirue know, I wouldn't have let it slip. By the way, since I said that I will agree to your request, say it? Although I have hundreds of thousands of affairs every minute, I have already planned the whole day for you two distinguished guests. The old man has been running the internet for more than 10 years. I have picked up tens of thousands of customers, but there is really no one as distinguished as you two. Chen Guang began to play funny. His mood is indeed very good. He got the watch. Just now, Jiang Yage went crazy and gave him such a good benefit. How can he not be happy? To be honest, it feels good to be friends with her. Not lacking money. Also giving benefits. But she shouldn't really like me, right? I feel that she is very slutty. This kind of woman, I can take advantage of her, but I must not take her seriously. Celebrities are really deep. But we are not the same kind of people. Don't think of a toad eating swan meat. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue immediately diverted their attention. Chapter 191. Then we'll go with the original plan? Jiang Yage's eyes lit up as she asked Jin Shirue. Jin Shirue was a little absent-minded. She nodded and said, "That's it. Take us out to play. It's been a long time since the two of us had a good time playing together. You know how tiring it is to be a celebrity. There's no freedom at all." Jiang Yage leaned against the back of the passenger seat and said to Qin Guang. Qin Guang thought that they were probably going to the private club for coffee. He nodded and said, "Okay. I'll do whatever you want." Jiang Yage was overjoyed. "Then it's a deal. Let's go to Disneyland." Qin Guang's mind was in a daze until the three of them stood nervously under the Ferris wheel. He didn't think that the two of them would be so daring. They didn't play by the rules and were completely unreasonable. Weren't they afraid of being recognized? Well, there was no possibility of being recognized. Sun hats, big sunglasses, and big masks with Nick the Fox and Judy the Bunny printed on them. "It's fine if we're fully armed, but why are you doing the same? Don't you look even more suspicious?" Jiang Yage said in a muffled voice through the mask. Qin Guang didn't look much better. He wore the same big sunglasses, and from his neck all the way to his eyes, he was wrapped tightly in his scarf. He was quite safe like this. It was just a little hot. After all, it was a summer day when a child was licking 2 popsicles. The scarf was too thick, and Qin Guang's voice sounded like a cricket trapped in a pressure cooker. "If the two of you are recognized, you can run back and continue your celebrity life. I can't. I still have to study in school and earn money. If I'm involved in a scandal, how am I going to live in the future? But isn't your scarf too suspicious? Isn't there a more reliable way?" Jin Shirue couldn't help but ridicule him. She seemed to have adjusted her state of mind. Qin Guang said helplessly, "Didn't I go look for a mask seller just now? I can't find it. Seriously, you two didn't even prepare one more for me. I didn't expect you to come to an amusement park with so many people coming and going." Qin Guang felt that everyone who passed by them seemed to be sizing them up suspiciously. There was something fishy about everyone. Fortunately, it was a lucky hit. His appearance was too eye-catching, so he stole the limelight from the two women. Not many people noticed these 2 ticking time bombs. Although it wasn't the peak season, the newly opened Disneyland's business was booming. There was a sea of people. Qin Guang was as nervous as a sheepdog that had brought 2 lambs into a pack of wolves. But thankfully he managed to escape unscathed after trying the roller coaster, trapeze, Ferris wheel, and pirate ship. "Alright, you might as well take off your scarf. I have a feeling that you're going to get a heat stroke." Jiang Yage took out a handkerchief from her pocket and wiped it on Qin Guang's reddened forehead with pity. Qin Guang took a step back without a change in expression. It's fine. I'm in good health. I can take it." "What are we going to play next?" "Let's go play the bumper cars." Jiang Yage suddenly had a whim. "What if you knock your hat off? When we were on the roller coaster just now, your hat almost flew off." Qin Guang objected. Jin Shirue was perhaps a little thirsty. She said, "Wait a moment, I'll go buy 3 bottles of drinks." "Sure, but you two have to go to the toilet to drink. You have to take off your masks when you drink water." Qin Guang's vigilance was also unparalleled. A person with non-obsessive compulsive disorder couldn't consider so many details. "Don't listen to him. We won't be discovered if we pull apart a little. Sister Shirue, go quickly. We'll wait for you here." As elegant ladies and dignified national idols, how could they agree to Qin Guang's unscrupulous suggestion? It was impossible even if they were beaten to death. In fact, this kind of thing should have been done by Qin Guang, but Jin Shirue seemed to have completely planned to give up the idea of Qin Guang in her heart. Since Qin Guang leaked the matter of Jiang Yage's life, although there was no change on the surface, her behavior had been a lot more polite to Qin Guang. Jiang Yage hadn't noticed it yet, but Qin Guang had vaguely felt it. Perhaps when Jin Shirue had held his hand at the airport earlier, there had been a deeper meaning behind it. Unfortunately, the deeper meaning had only just begun to emerge and was about to be gradually buried by her. However, Qin Guang didn't have any regrets. After all, he and they weren't people of the same world. As for Jiang Yage, he always felt that Jiang Yage was joking with him. He thought that Jiang Yage's personality was just that cheerful and bold. Her so-called intimate and ambiguous actions were because she was like that. You could be friends, but don't think that she would really treat you seriously. If your heart was moved, you would probably end up with a body full of injuries. Although she actually gave him benefits, It only made Qin Guang subconsciously feel that she was this unruly. At this time, Jin Shirue took the initiative to buy drinks for herself to create a rare time for the two of them to be alone. Unfortunately, Qin Guang and Jiang Yage didn't realize it. In the end, in less than a minute, he heard a scream from the crowd. The voice was familiar, it was Jin Shirue. Qin Guang hurriedly looked over and saw that she was surrounded by 4 young men. With one look, he could tell that these 4 young men were hot-blooded and vigorous. Qin Yishue was wearing a short singlet, revealing the strong muscles on his shoulders. Qin Guang also had a headache. This was the situation he was most afraid of when he brought these 2 out. Even though the 2 of them covered their faces, they couldn't hide the excellent figures that they had trained as artists over the years. Women who were too beautiful were indeed troublemakers. "Little girl, you stepped on brother's foot. Do you want to leave without saying sorry?" Jin Shirue hugged the 3 bottles of drinks with both hands and desperately bowed to the young man who was talking to her. She forcefully lowered her voice and said, "Sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't do it on purpose." She didn't dare to make her voice too loud. After all, their voices were very recognizable and she was afraid that others would recognize them. "Louder. Little girl, your voice is too soft. I can't hear you clearly. Is there something wrong with you? Why are you wrapped up so tightly on such a hot day? Are you ashamed?" The young man in a singlet looked at Jin Shirue with a sly smile and smacked his lips. There was indeed a shoe print on the back of his foot from Jin Shirue's step. He led the other 3 people to block Jin Shirue and not let her leave. It was obvious that he had taken a fancy to Jin Shirue, who had a perfect figure. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was playing a hooligan in public. He even planned to tear off Jin Shirue's mask to see if this woman's face was as perfect as her figure so that he could more or less take advantage of her. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly extended his hand, intending to tear off Jin Shirue's mask. Jin Shirue panicked. She wanted to retreat, but there was also a young man in a singlet behind her. She could only let go of the 3 bottles of drinks and try to protect her mask first. Qin Guang broke into a run as he watched. There were already many people looking in Jin Shirue's direction. It would be terrible if she really tore off this bastard's mask in public. Chapter 192. Killing is just a matter of nodding one's head to the ground. Stop. Before he got close, Qin Guang had already shouted at the top of his lungs. The 4 men in tank tops looked towards Qin Guang's direction and saw an even more suspicious scarf-masked man coming towards them. Behind him was a beauty with a mask and sunglasses. Interesting. A man and 2 women sneaking around. What is there to hide from others? Your woman stepped on my foot. How can I, Ruan Jiankai, put my face when you tell me to stop? The most arrogant man in tank top was obviously not going to let it go so easily. That's right. Kid, do you know who Brother Jiankai is? He's a seated fighter in our city's martial arts competition. He's a reputable person. Don't you want your woman to apologize? Since Ruan Jiankai said his name, the other 3 men didn't hide it anymore. One of them said this and blocked Qin Guang. Since Ruan Jiankai was a contestant in some kind of fighting competition, the other 3 should be similar to him. They were also martial artists. Jin Shirue's heart turned cold. She didn't expect that she accidentally stepped on someone's foot while buying a drink. She didn't expect to provoke someone who learned martial arts. Moreover, the other party's temper was so hard to deal with. What should she do now? Jiang Yage was still a little far away. Hearing this, she frowned and stopped, intending to call someone. F***CK. I don't care if you're Ruan Jiankai or a soft-footed shrimp. Scram. I'll beat you to death. Qin Guang was furious. Seeing that something big was about to happen, he was burning with anxiety and his temper flared up. Seeing that the other party wasn't going to be kind, he naturally struck first to gain the upper hand. He had to protect Jin Shirue's mask. He couldn't let her recognize him. His heavy fist, filled with anger, smashed towards the nose of the man in front of him. No one thought that Qin Guang would take the initiative to attack. His sudden attack caught everyone off guard. The heavy fist, with a violent anger, smashed fiercely on the kid's face. With a muffled sound, the man didn't even have the chance to scream or raise his hand to cover his nose. Instead, he fell to the ground. He was knocked out on the spot by Qin Guang's sudden heavy punch. Jiang Yage, who was about to call for help, was dumbfounded. Her phone fell to the ground with a clatter. There was only one thought in her mind. Oh no. Ruan Jiankai, who was about to grab Jin Shirue, was also dumbfounded. The young man who blocked Qin Guang was his junior in the dojo. Although his strength wasn't that great, he had been training in combat for half a year. His body was also very sturdy. His coach said that he had quick reflexes and was a good seedling, but he was knocked down in one move. There was no reason for that. Jin Shirue cupped her hands and covered her eyes. She couldn't bear to look in that direction. Her mind was blank. Someone in the crowd next to her had already screamed. Those who saw the whole thing from the beginning to the end were secretly cursing Chen Guang for being too impulsive. Doesn't this young man know how to talk nicely to others? There are 4 of them and they are all so sturdy. Something big is going to happen. Sai, he can't do anything about it. Look at the other 4 young men. They don't look like they can talk nicely. He can't do anything about it, right? Why don't we help him call the police? Why do you care so much about other people's business? Let's go, let's go. Many people around had the same thought at this time, but there were also some brave people who couldn't bear to leave and continued to watch the show. Ruan Jiankai first glared at Jin Shirue fiercely and said, "I'll come back to deal with you later." Although one of his people was down, Ruan Jiankai didn't particularly care. After all, the young man was a newcomer. His level was relatively low. Perhaps he was caught off guard by the sudden sneak attack. The other 2 people had already moved in the direction of Chen Guang one after the other. Looking at their companion who had fallen on the ground, his eyes were open, but only the whites of his eyes could be seen. His nose was bleeding, and the bridge of his nose was crooked to one side. It seemed that the injury was not light. It was unknown whether it was dislocated or fractured. Tragic, really tragic. The 2 of them were suddenly furious. They were people who had trained hard in the boxing ring and obtained a lot of results, but they were actually knocked down by this young man's sneak attack. How could they tolerate this? "Brat, do you want to die?" One of them clenched his fist and came in the direction of Chen Guang. He had learned from the previous person's lesson. Although he looked arrogant on the surface, he had secretly concentrated all his energy and planned to teach this sinister villain a lesson. Chen Guang was silent and continued to move forward. He only stopped when he was in front of this person. Get out of the way. Once he thought of the impact that might be caused if Jin Shirue's mask was pulled off, Chen Guang's mood couldn't be good. Moreover, it was clearly these few grandsons who were pestering him. Did they really think that he was made of clay? Damn, we all thought that we were the most arrogant, but you're almost as arrogant as the heavens. This person first cursed, then angrily threw a punch, aiming directly at Chen Guang's face. Chen Guang suddenly leaned to the side and tilted his head to the side, narrowly avoiding the opponent's punch. Then he slightly bent his waist and clenched his right hand into a fist. Suddenly he punched upwards and hit the opponent's chin. Chen Guang's movements were too fast, and the strength of his fist was too strong. Although this person already knew that he was in trouble when Chen Guang dodged, and that his opponent was really an expert, his reaction was a step too late. Chen Guang's punch sent him flying into the air before he fell to the ground. In the end, he couldn't even last a single round. After putting down the second person, Chen Guang didn't stop. He took a step forward with his right foot, and before the second person fell to the ground, he had already swept past him. The third guy in tank top was first shocked and subconsciously took a step back. What are you afraid of? He can't possibly let all 4 of us be defeated by him alone. Ruan Jiankai had already walked up and said fiercely from behind, "Brother Jiankai, he seems to be really strong?" Although this person no longer retreated, he didn't dare to move forward. Ruan Jiankai snorted, "How strong can he be? Coward. Get lost." Ruan Jiankai said, clenched his fist and stood in front of Chen Guang. Chen Guang tilted his head and looked at Jin Shirue, who was blocked behind him. Thank God her Nick Fox mask was still on her face. This matter was caused by you guys. If you are a little more conscientious and step aside, I won't pursue this matter any further. Chen Guang said with a straight face. Do you think I won't pursue this matter just because you say so? Do you really think you're a big shot just because you have a little bit of skill? Today I will teach you what it means to say that there is always someone better than you. Ruan Jiankai was a hot-tempered person, and as a professional fighter, he had his own pride. His own people were beaten up in front of his eyes, and he felt that he couldn't be kind. Although the cause of this matter was indeed because he had bad intentions towards Jin Shirue, he didn't think that he was in the wrong. As soon as he finished speaking, he took the initiative to attack Chen Guang. He suddenly pounced forward and raised his leg, which was a combination of Muay Thai techniques and a knee strike. His movement was very fast. From the moment he was about to raise his leg to the knee strike in front of Chen Guang, it was only a short moment, and it carried a strong and heavy force. At this moment, Chen Guang was truly enraged. Fuck. You want to die? I will fulfill your wish. He suddenly took half a step back, clenched his right hand into a fist, and punched Ruan Jinkai's knee meniscus from top to bottom. Qin Guang's fist and Ruan Jinkai's knee strike were actually going to meet force with force. A cold smile appeared on Ruan Jinkai's face. I have been training in martial arts for at least 5 to 6 years, and this knee strike technique is even more years of hard work. You actually dare to use your fist to attack? Aren't you afraid of breaking your wrist? Just as he was thinking about this, bang! A muffled sound that made people's ears ache rang out, and the fist and knee finally collided fiercely. Then Qin Guang's fist did not bend as he expected, but a sharp pain came from his own knee. How could he have known that his knee indeed had several years of hard work, but Qin Guang's fist had been trained in the sea of fleeting time for 20 years. Pain shot through his whole body like lightning, and Ruan Jinkai's mouth opened wider and wider, and he was about to cry out in pain. But Qin Guang suddenly formed a claw with his left hand and grabbed his face. His left leg stepped forward, tripping Ruan Jinkai's left calf, and his left hand exerted force, and Ruan Jinkai's whole body fell backwards. From the beginning of the fight to the time all three of them were knocked down, not even 40 seconds had passed. Feeling the dull pain in the bones of his right hand, Qin Guang grinned. This person had some skill, and if he was not careful and really fought with him in a tug-of-war, he might not have won so easily. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for daring to meet force with me. In the blink of an eye, the situation had changed and the surrounding crowd was completely dumbfounded. The last guy in a vest wasn't much better, he was trembling and couldn't say a word. How could he still dare to be arrogant? Chapter 193. Qin Guang clapped his hands and walked straight to Jin Shiyue. He smiled at her and bent down to pick up the 3 bottles of drinks that were scattered on the ground. All right, let's go. It's not a big deal. Even if they call the police, we don't have to be afraid. They were the ones who took liberties with innocent women first. As he spoke, Qin Guang realized that the area in front of his mouth was empty. The violent movement just now had caused the scarf to fall off his face. But it didn't matter. Anyway, Jin Shiyue's mask was still on. Jin Shiyue nodded blankly and was about to follow Qin Guang out. At that moment, Jin Shiyue's mind was in a daze and her heart was pounding. Although Qin Guang's earlier actions were extremely violent, and she might not have seen such a clean and direct fight in the movies that she had acted in, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. But at that moment, Jin Shiyue did not feel that Qin Guang was violent at all. Instead, her heart was in turmoil. He saw that I was bullied and he was actually so angry? I thought that he only treated me as an ordinary friend. I thought that he was just being polite. So, he actually cared about me that much? Jin Shiyue had suppressed her thoughts with great difficulty. But at that moment she started to feel restless again. Jiang Yage stood far away from the crowd. Her emotions were complicated as well. At that moment, Qin Guang was just like the Prince Charming that she had imagined countless times in her mind. He galloped over, reached out his hand and saved her from danger. Although he was not saving her but her good sister, Jin Shiyue, Jiang Yage not only sympathized with him, but also put herself in Jin Shiyue's shoes. This was the second time he had saved us. At that moment, the surrounding crowd suddenly screamed, Jiang Yage! Oh my god! That's Jiang Yage! Holy shit! Qin Guang turned his head to look at Jiang Yage. He saw her standing there with a flustered and confused face. She was holding her cell phone and sunglasses, and her mask was hanging on her chin. Her pretty face was completely exposed. Just now, when she wanted to call for help, she felt that the other party might not be able to hear her clearly through the mask, so she subconsciously took off her mask. Then the phone slipped out of her hand and fell to the ground. When she bent over to pick it up, her sunglasses fell again. After she picked it up, she only held the sunglasses in her hand and forgot to put them back on. Heaven and earth. Qin Guang was about to cry. You're playing with me. I exhausted all my energy, went through untold hardships, and didn't hesitate to use a heavy hand to beat these 4 grandchildren until they couldn't get up and kept howling in pain. Wasn't I afraid that Jin Shiyue's mask would be pulled off and exposed? I finally managed to do it without any mishaps, but your level of self-destruction is too much. At that critical moment, Qin Guang cursed Jiang Yage, that stupid woman's IQ, in his heart. At the same time he quickly pulled up his scarf and wrapped it around his face. Don't say anything, just hide my face first. There were already people taking out their cell phones. Qin Guang felt that he had to carry an electromagnetic interference device with him in the future. Why did he always end up in a situation where he couldn't let others take pictures of him? Ruan Jiankai, who was lying on the ground, and the fourth guy in a tank top who hadn't been beaten up yet were also frightened. Everyone knew that Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui were inseparable. If the person standing there was Jiang Yage, then the person he had surrounded and tried to flirt with just now would have been Jin Shirui. At that moment, Ruan Jinkai's heart was on the verge of collapse. If he had known that the woman in front of him was a national idol, he wouldn't have dared to flirt with her like that. He would have turned into a fanatical fan and desperately tried to get an autograph or a photo with her. As the first person screamed, countless people's eyes turned to Jiang Yage, who was stunned by the sudden change. Chen Guang wasn't any better than Jiang Yage. His brain had completely shut down and he felt like the end of the world was coming. In his mind, the movie World War of the Zombies by Brad Pitt appeared, in which countless crazy zombies attacked from all directions. It was too scary, too scary. At that critical moment, Jin Shirui, who was experienced in dealing with such situations, was the first to react. She grabbed Chen Guang's hand and dashed towards Jiang Yage, shouting, "Run!" Although the national goddess had suddenly grabbed his hand, Chen Guang didn't feel excited at all. However, he reacted quickly. Seeing that some people had already started taking pictures and more people were rushing forward, he immediately sped up and pulled Jin Shirui forward. Although the people surrounding them might not have any evil intentions, the excited smiles on their faces were like scourges and fierce beasts in the eyes of Chen Guang and Jin Jiang. In fact, the two girls had encountered a similar situation many years ago. In the end, the two of them finally escaped from the crowd after much effort. According to the statistics, there was even a stampede at that time and people were injured. Popularity brought not only benefits but also fear. Humans were creatures that could infect each other. When a crowd gathered together, a person's mood would no longer be independent. Instead, it would be affected by the surrounding crowd. It could be excitement, agitation, or even madness. Jiang Yage, why are you still standing there like a fool? Hurry up and put on your mask and run. Seeing that Jiang Yage was still standing there, Chen Guang shouted. Jiang Yage suddenly came back to her senses and pulled up her mask in a panic. However, her other hand was grabbed by Chen Guang, who rushed to her side. Just like that, Chen Guang's left hand was holding Jiang Yage's, and his right hand was holding Jin Shirui's. It really lived up to their name, left and right hand. There was really no time to explain to the crowd, and it was impossible to calm them down with just a few words. There were too many people in Disneyland. The commotion was like a plague, quickly spreading among the crowd. Left and right hand had been popular all over the country for 10 years. Starting from child stars, too many people watched the two step by step to the position of movie, television, and song superstars. Not everyone was their fan, but there were definitely a lot of people who knew the two people. In addition, there was almost no negative news about the two people, so even if they were not their fans, it did not prevent others from taking a closer look at the stars. Seeing that the crowd in front of them was almost about to surround them, Chen Guang pulled the two women and formed a spearhead, desperately running forward, shouting, "I've got the wrong person, I've got the wrong person." Of course, no one would believe this kind of nonsense. If you really are not, why are you sneaking around and covering your face? Fortunately, the two women were good at singing and dancing, and often acted in ancient martial arts dramas. After long-term training, their athletic ability was much better than ordinary people. Chen Guang also deliberately suppressed his speed and did not use all his strength to run, but the three of them still rushed out before the crowd surrounded them. When they rushed out, relying on the memory in his mind, Chen Guang wanted to run in the direction of the parking lot. At first, the people in front did not know what the commotion in the crowd behind them was about, but when they heard the black mass of people constantly shouting the two names of Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage, and then saw the man and two women running in front of the crowd, they immediately guessed what was going on. There were not many opportunities to be so close to the stars, and the people were even the left and right hand. The middle-aged and elderly people might be able to calm down, but some students, especially middle and high school students, were completely boiling. In this amusement park, the main road from the parking lot and the various entertainment facilities were the most people. The people there were instantly piled up. Great, now I can't go. Go where there are less people, I can't stop. About 7 or 8 minutes later, Chen Guang, Jin Shirui, and Jiang Yage huddled together, not daring to breathe. Listening to the dense footsteps outside and the hustle and bustle gradually fade away, the three of them all breathed a sigh of relief. Oh my God, I've finally hidden it. Chapter 194. At that moment, the three of them were hiding in a blue container truck. It was also a blessing from the heavens that the three of them relied on their superior physical strength to forcibly escape from the pursuit of countless people. Although there was still a large group of people behind them, Disneyland's security guards reacted in time and started to take action, more or less delaying the pace of the people behind them, which gave them the most precious time. Although the three of them didn't enter the public parking lot, after countless turns, they turned a corner and accidentally ran into the staff building of Disneyland's management office. It was the staff parking lot. There was an empty container truck parked in the parking lot, but it wasn't locked. Chen Guang knew that running like this wasn't a solution. It would only make the chaos in Disneyland more and more serious, and it might even turn into a stampede. When he saw the container truck, he made sure that it was in the blind spot of the people behind them. He made a prompt decision, rushed up, and threw the two of them up. Then he quickly got into the truck, closed the door, and hid inside. Those people should have gone far, right? After a long time, Jiang Yage asked in a low voice with a red face. Chen Guang took off his scarf. He was so bored that he couldn't stand it anymore. You still have the cheek to talk? Can you be any worse? Why are you wearing a mask? You even took off your sunglasses. Even if you had kept your sunglasses, it would have been better. Your ability to screw over your teammates is truly unprecedented. Jiang Yage was so embarrassed that she explained the situation in a low voice with a red face. Chen Guang wanted to kick her to death. You really can't do anything right, but you always spoil things. Jin Shuiwa didn't say anything from the beginning to the end, because until now, Chen Guang was still holding her hand tightly. Since she was a child, she had never held hands with anyone for such a long time, even when she was acting. Chen Guang was exerting his strength, since he was exhausted from running earlier. Hence, the temperature of his palms was high, which made Jin Shuiwa feel warm in her heart and hands. On the other side, Jiang Yage was not unhappy at all after being taught a lesson by Chen Guang. Instead, she felt surprised. In the past, no one had dared to teach her like this. Even her peers who were of the same status as her all acted like gentlemen in front of her, not to mention those who wanted to flatter her. Among the boys of Chen Guang's age, there were quite a number of them who were fans of the two of them. There were a large number of them who were chasing after them just now. If those people saw her, they would be so nervous that they would be breathless. Jiang Yage felt very strange. Brother Chen Guang was also an ordinary college student. Why was he so different from others? No wonder I fell in love with him so easily from the beginning and was so determined to devote myself to him. He's really special. If Chen Guang knew what Jiang Yage was thinking, old Master Guang would probably just want to howl to the heavens. I used to have a very high and unattainable attitude towards you. Alright, you destroyed your own image in front of me. Your idol image in my heart has long been shattered into pieces. At this moment, the door of the container truck shook violently. The three of them were stunned. What's going on? Kacha, kacha, kacha sounds came from outside again. The three of them looked at each other in confusion. The container truck was locked from the outside. It can't be so coincidental. We've only been hiding for a few minutes and the driver is already back? Alright, actually, a few minutes was really a long time. Chen Guang stood up and ran to the door of the container truck. He peeked through the gap and saw that there was no one outside. What do we do now? Jin Shuyua's hand was finally released by Chen Guang. Her heart felt empty, but she quickly calmed down and got up to ask. Jiang Yage moved to Chen Guang's side and pretended to push the door open. Chen Guang stopped her. Don't. It should be the driver who locked the door. Before he finished speaking, the truck started. Chen Guang pulled the two of them to a corner and sat down together before continuing. Aren't we worried about not being able to get out of the amusement park? Isn't it better to take this truck? If we knock now, what if someone sees us when we go out? After all, our clothes and the combination of one man and two women have been recorded. The two girls nodded in unison, feeling that what Chen Guang said made sense. Do you see the hole in the top of the container? It can be ventilated. Although it's a little hot inside, it won't suffocate. It's stable. Anyway, it's safe. When he gets out of the amusement park, we can go and knock on the back window. He can hear the sound. Seeing that the two girls were still a little uneasy, Chen Guang comforted them again. His heart felt stifled. I knew nothing good would come out of bringing you out. As expected. Mr. Policeman, please believe us. We are really innocent. We are not suspicious people. Really? Look at my sincere eyes. I'm a student of Gokyo University. This is my student ID. I'm also a good Samaritan. Oh, I also have a silk banner. This was given to me by the Wenxing Town branch. Look at this photo on my phone. He's a real good citizen. After saying these words, Chen Guang desperately widened his eyes. His pair of affectionate eyes exuded a charming radiance as he stared at the handsome young policeman in front of him. The young and handsome policeman in uniform looked at the three people in front of him suspiciously. He felt that these three people were playing with him. Do you think I'll believe you? The policeman's brows furrowed even tighter. Especially when he saw the silk banner that Qin Guang presented like a treasure. On the left were the words, Wenxing Town Branch. He almost laughed out loud. As for Qin Guang's sincere eyes that he thought could move China, he was completely ignored. Officer. These three people are really suspicious. I was just waiting for the traffic light when they suddenly knocked on my back window. It scared me. I quickly got out of the car and opened it. These three people were actually hiding in my container. Look at them. If they aren't thieves, what else can they be? The bearded truck driver was complaining about what had happened to him in an emotional tone. That's right. At this moment, Qin Guang and the other two were indeed wrapped up tightly. Jin Jiang and Jin Guang had returned to their previous big sunglasses, sun hat and animal masks. Qin Guang was even worse. His scarf was wrapped so tightly that only his eyes could be seen. That was why he said to look at his sincere eyes, because he couldn't see his face at all. All right. You didn't suffer any financial losses, did you? The policeman was quite easy to talk to. The driver nodded. I didn't lose anything. If you didn't lose anything, then leave first. You're such a big truck. You're blocking the traffic by stopping at this intersection. I'll bring these three people back to the station to record their statements. The policemen seemed to have made a decision. This frightened Qin Guang and Jin Jiang. With their condition, if they were to be sent to the police station, it would be disastrous. Helpless, Jin Shirui could only step forward. After the driver left, she walked forward. After a while, she took off her mask, took off her sunglasses, and raised her head to look at the policeman. Hello, comrade. I'm Jin Shirui. We really aren't suspicious people. It was just a freak combination of factors that led to us being locked in the container truck. Oh my god. Jin Shirui. Oh my god. I've liked you for a whole 8 years. I've been collecting your posters since junior high. Old Master Guang was completely dumbfounded. Grenade-throwing Lu. This policeman is the real explosive fanatic. Can your level get any lower? Can your voice be any louder? I feel embarrassed for Wu Tong. She's actually in the same team as a scammer like you. Chapter 195. Run. No explanation. Without hesitation, Qin Guang quickly asked Jin Shirui to put on a mask and ran away. Qin Guang pulled the two of them and ran 2 steps away. The policeman, who was on the verge of breaking down, squatted on the ground and cried. Damn, he's really a loyal fan. I can understand you a little. If I saw Ronaldo when I was in junior high, I probably wouldn't be any better. But now I'm a victim. Police comrade. Look at your uniform. Can you not add to the mess? You have to live up to your profession. Qin Guang threw out such a sentence from afar, but he had already run 20 to 30 meters away with the 2 girls. Fortunately, the crowd on the street wasn't that dense. In addition, Qin Guang's reaction was fast enough. Although many people looked suspiciously at the policeman who was crying on the ground, they didn't chase after him. Even the police were beaten to tears. How ferocious must this man and 2 women be? Don't be a busybody. The 3 of them sprinted all the way. When they passed by a clothing store, they went in. They didn't say anything else. Let's change first. We still have to go back to the amusement park to drive the car away. The 2 women, Jin and Jiang, also had quite a lot of cash on them. Although they looked suspicious, they were generous and did not haggle over the price at all. After a bit of picking and choosing, they let Qin Guang take the clothes to the counter and pay for them. He immediately changed into the clothes he was wearing. The people in the clothing store were making money, so they did not ask much. Needless to say, these 2 women were simply natural clothes hangers. They casually picked out clothes and they looked graceful and beautiful when they wore them. Then the question was, why the hell were there no men's clothing stores along the way? Women's money was so easy to earn. Gender discrimination, I protest. I won't change my clothes, Qin Guang bit the bullet and said. But your scarf is also very conspicuous, and your Hawaiian suit is even more conspicuous. You will definitely be recognized. Our tracks have been exposed just now. If there are paparazzi with a keen sense of smell, they might be rushing over at this time. Jin Shirui said with some worry. Jiang Yage giggled. That's right. A mysterious man and 2 women visiting Disneyland together. Such a headline would be on the front page everywhere. Qin Guang pushed him away. All right, there's no need to say any more. I understand. Hey, can we not choose a dress? Can you stop playing? Qin Guang clenched his fists tightly behind Jiang Yage's back. I'm not joking. I want to strangle you with my scarf. Shirui is still the most considerate. At least she chose something more neutral for me, But isn't this a little too small? Fine, I haven't bought any clothes yet, so I have to fork out some money first. After all, Qingguang was 1.8 meters tall. He didn't look strong on the outside, but his body was full of muscles. He had a good figure, but now it had become a problem. He couldn't fit into his neutral business attire. In the end, he still found something suitable for him. That's right, it was a maternity dress. Thankfully, it wasn't pink. It was a beautiful ocean blue. What the hell is this lace at the collar? I object. Oh, do you have any lace ones over there? But it's either pink or with red cherries. Do as you see fit. Jiang Yage looked at Qingguang's appearance. If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't dare to make too much noise, she wouldn't have been able to hold it in. Qingguang secretly made up his mind. To think that I, the dignified second officer of the En Royal who killed people like flies, to think that I, the owner of the heavenly Holy Grail, was reduced to wearing a maternity dress. What a scam. When I get back, I will definitely burn these clothes to comfort my spirit in heaven. By the way, you have to change out of this dress later. I bought it based on my height. You can use it in the future. Don't waste it, Jiang Yage suddenly added. Qingguang slapped himself hard on the face. He couldn't live anymore. Why didn't he just get rid of the evidence? The three of them returned to the parking lot with trepidation. Like thieves, they ran in the direction of Qingguang's little rundown Rena. They had just gotten into the car. When Qingguang was about to take off his clothes, a Volkswagen Golf stopped beside him. Jiang Yage reacted quickly. She glanced over and saw a guy wearing a cap. He got out of the car with an SLR cannon in his hand. Paparazzi. Jiang Yage lowered her voice and reminded him. Qingguang was about to take off his clothes. When he heard the voice, he was almost scared out of his wits. At this moment, the person next to him was about to rush into the amusement park, but he subconsciously looked to his side and happened to see Jiang Yage looking at him through the brown rear window. Oh my God. The veteran paparazzi who came to inquire about the situation jumped back in fright. He reflexively raised his SLR cannon. His professionalism was really high. On the other side, Qingguang's face turned green with fright. Why the hell did he change into a maternity dress? Just run. He activated his racing god special skill. He slammed down on the accelerator. The tachometer went straight to 5,000 RPM. The little rundown Rena sped out with its tires on fire, leaving behind a cloud of thick, choking smoke. The paparazzi was very professional. Qingguang's racing sense was not bad either. The paparazzi with the cap had only raised his SLR cannon halfway. He could only squint at the cars but from the smoke. Fortunately, the parking lot where they were was paid by hand. There were no railings at the entrance. Qingguang rushed out directly. Otherwise, he would have crashed into the railings. What the hell is going on today? It's more exciting than fighting a war. Whoever becomes your man in the future, unless he is a famous person who can stand it. Qingguang sighed and let out a sigh of relief. He was really on the verge of breaking down. What he said was true, but it made Jiang Yage and Jiang Yage's expressions dim. These two girls were in their prime, but they never thought about the relationship between a man and a woman. First, they didn't meet someone they liked. Second, it was because of this. At this moment, Qingguang just let out a sigh of relief. From the corner of his eye, he saw the white Golf rushing out of the parking lot from the rearview mirror. As a top paparazzi, oh no, an entertainment reporter, he was so close to the headlines. How could he let go of the opportunity to soar into the sky? If he didn't get some real photos, he swore not to give up. That guy also snorted. He actually chased out. Qingguang snorted. Want to chase me? Jiang Yage can't even catch up with me in a Ferrari 488. You want to chase me with this broken Golf? Stop messing around, okay? The guy in front of you is the invincible racing god who earns 100,000 yuan a day, okay? 15 minutes later, Qingguang's career as a racing god collapsed once again. Damn, you're cheating. Why is your Golf a 2.0T turbocharged cannon? It's not a 1.6L inline 4-cylinder. This son of AB *TCH only needs 6.9 seconds to accelerate 100 kilometers per hour. On this comprehensive road condition, and without breaking the rules, it's not much worse than a Ferrari. I can't die in peace. There's no other way. If I want to get rid of him, I can only use the same trick. Qingguang's face darkened. Both of you remember to fasten your seat belts later. We're going to Phoenix Spring Mountain again. Chapter 196. After making up his mind, Qingguang went straight to Fengquan Mountain. That place was basically his territory. Although that bastard's small cannon was powerful, Even semi-professional drivers like Zhong Bai had to eat dust when driving a supercar, let alone him. Along the way, the Golf made use of its acceleration function to rush to Chen Guang's side several times. However, Jin Guang and Jiang Yuning were already prepared and had curled up under the back seat, so they couldn't capture anything. Chen Guang had also wrapped himself tightly with a scarf. Halfway there, that bastard finally couldn't help it. Taking advantage of a red light, he got out of the car and wanted to rush directly to the window to take pictures. Chen Guang was also straightforward. He also got out of the car and waved his fist directly. The two sides fought for less than 5 seconds. How could a mere paparazzi be a match for Master Guang? He immediately fell to the ground. Chen Guang was planning to give him a ruthless beating so that this bastard would completely lose his ability to move, but the traffic police not far away were already rushing over here. There were still 2 large time bombs in the car. Chen Guang had no choice but to let the police call him over for questioning. He simply threw this bastard aside and went back to the car. The red light just turned green and he decisively left. The paparazzi with a cap was beaten up, and his whole body was bruised. But in this line of work he had been beaten up more than once or twice and it was not very shameful. He was still in a hurry to chase after people, so he quickly got into the car and only threw a sentence to the traffic police who had just arrived. It's okay, it's okay. It's just a joke between friends. Thank you, comrade police. Since then this man didn't dare to get out of the car again. He still stuck close to the side during the race, but he shrank far away at the traffic lights. Chen Guang was also helpless. If they really raced, even if there was a huge difference in the performance of the 2 cars, it would not be difficult to get rid of him. But he really didn't want to violate the rules and cause a storm for no reason. Along the way he finally drove to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. The paparazzi who had been following behind saw such a remote road and hesitated a little. He was a little afraid. The brief confrontation just now made him realize that the driver in the car in front of him was really good at fighting. Not to mention that he was the only one today. He was afraid that even several other colleagues from the magazine might not be able to beat him. Could it be that the other party wanted to find a place where no one was around to beat him up, and then smash his camera, phone, driving recorder and other things into pieces? However, he didn't hesitate for long. It would only take a few seconds. If he could get a substantial piece of material on his left and right hand, the benefits he would gain would probably be in the millions. The benefits were already high enough to drive people crazy, so he dared to risk his life. Apart from that, he had already attached several special hidden pinhole cameras to his body. Even if he was really beaten up, as long as he kept any one of these hidden cameras, today's fight would not be considered a waste. Are we going to accelerate? Jiang Yage asked. She was looking forward to it. The last time she followed behind Chen Guang, she felt that his driving skills were amazing. Now that she had the chance to be in the same car with him and see his godly skills with her own eyes, although she didn't race, it didn't stop her from worshipping him. Jin Shirue was a little nervous. She squeezed Jiang Yage's hand tightly and whispered, "Brother Chen Guang, be careful too. Don't let anything happen. I've already called Sister Zhou. She's rushing over here with her people. When Sister Zhou arrives, she'll be able to deal with the paparazzi." Chen Guang chuckled. "Don't worry, Shirue. I'm not bragging, but he can't even catch up to an alto, let alone me driving Arena." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly accelerated. The Arena's engine roared wildly, and it accelerated like a slingshot. It made a U-turn in front, and the car dragged thick smoke behind it as it swung out in a perfect arc. It was a beautiful textbook drift. The paparazzi who had been following behind was stunned. Who the F***ck was this guy? He was good at fighting and he was so reckless when it came to racing. Was he a special agent from 007? I can't accept this. My 1 million yuan. The paparazzi's eyes were red, and he also sped up to catch up. Unfortunately, he didn't know how to drift, and he didn't have the guts to race on a dangerous track like Phoenix Spring Mountain. It took him a lot of effort to decelerate and make the turn, but Chen Guang's Rena had already entered another S-shaped turn. They were less than 100 meters apart just a moment ago, but this short U-turn had widened the gap to more than 400 meters. The Rena was like a loach, drifting twice and rushing out of the S-shaped curve. The poor young man slammed the steering wheel and cursed, F***ck. He's crazy. He still didn't give up, even though the gap had widened again. Chen Guang had lost his temper. He didn't care how desperate the young man behind him was. As long as they were on Phoenix Spring Mountain, he wouldn't drive properly. He rushed all the way and he encountered a familiar car on the way. He couldn't remember the license plate number, but Chen Guang had an impression of the car model. It was the white magically modified GTR that he had personally driven in the driving god training class. The young man named Wang Qing had a good feeling about it at that time. He was more talented than Zhong Bai when it came to racing. He wasn't like other rich second-generation heirs who raced just for fun or to pick up girls. He really liked racing and enjoyed the extreme speed of sprinting. Qin Guang didn't expect to see him stopping by the side of the road at this time. However, he still had a big tail hanging behind him and he wasn't in the mood to catch up with him. Qin Guang didn't slow down and whizzed past the white GTR. Wang Qing was leaning against the driver's seat with his eyes closed, thinking about the feeling of racing all the way here. He heard the roar of the engine behind him and it was a little awkward. It didn't sound like the state of a normal sports car, but more like the overload of a normal car's engine. He opened his eyes and saw a silver Hyundai Rena racing madly along the mountain road. Wang Qing frowned slightly. Like Zhong Bai, he also regarded this track as his family's forbidden land. He was about to stop this reckless guy when he suddenly remembered something. Zhong Bai had once told him that Brother Racing God's car was a silver Hyundai. Could it be Brother Racing God? Just as he was feeling bewildered, Qin Guang had already charged past his car and executed another standard drift. It was smooth and natural, without the slightest hint of sluggishness. When the car's wheels reached the side, it was so fast that half of the car was thrown off the track, but it was pulled back just in time. Wang Qing sat up straight. F***CK. It's really Brother Racing God. What is he doing here? Chase. He had been practicing his driving skills here for the past few days, and his progress was remarkable. However, how could it be easy to learn Racing God's driving skills? There were still a lot of things in his mind that he couldn't figure out. Now that he had seen the person in front of him, how could he calm down? Chapter 197. By the time Wang Qing turned a corner, Qin Guang was already farther away. As expected of Brother Racing God, Wang Qing's fighting spirit soared and he sped up to catch up. Unfortunately, when Qin Guang first ran this mountain track, Zhong Bai and the others had to eat dust. Now that he had been running for a whole day, Qin Guang was even more familiar with the road. He could even run with his eyes closed. Even though he was driving a small Renault, his average speed was still above 115 kilometers per hour. Even though Wang Qing's driving skills had improved a lot, he could only barely break the 100 kilometers per hour mark. The difference between him and Qin Guang's 115 kilometers per hour was huge. It was only after Qin Guang was certain that the paparazzi would be left behind that the small Renault could no longer hold on, and it slowed down to run 80 kilometers per hour before Wang Qing finally caught up. The Fengquan mountain track was a unique track. Qin Guang only let the white GTR follow behind him, and he didn't park it by the side of the road. He drove out of the track, turned into a dirt road and then made a turn to hide behind the woods. After he was sure that the Golf wouldn't be able to find him, Qin Guang stopped the car. He knew that the young man behind him had been following him, and he definitely wanted to talk to him. He quickly took off the maternity clothes and changed into the orange juice-flavored Hawaiian suit. After throwing the maternity clothes back, Qin Guang was ready to get out of the car. "You two stay in the car and don't get out. I'll go down and say goodbye to my friends," Qin Guang said to Jin Jiang and Qin Guang. The two women had seen him leave the rich second generation in the dust before, but they didn't expect him to become friends with those people. "Are you really going to keep these clothes?" Jin Shiyue, who was lying in the back seat, rolled her eyes and said to Jiang Yage. Jiang Yage folded the clothes and stuffed them into her bag. She couldn't stop giggling. "Yeah, I'll need them sooner or later." Qin Guang got out of the car and asked Wang Qing about it. Sure enough, the kid had been training hard on the track every day. Wang Qing asked a lot of questions, but Qin Guang couldn't answer any of them. He could only pretend to be knowledgeable and act like he couldn't explain. After chatting for a while, Qin Guang planned to leave. After all, Jin Jiang and Qin Guang were still sitting in the car. "It's not that I want to criticize you, but when it comes to racing, it's fine if you only do it once in a while, but I don't approve of you doing it as a career." Before leaving, Guang thought about it and said so. Wang Qing chuckled. "Brother Racing God, don't scold me. You're the one who's the best at racing in Wujing City, no, in the whole of China." Seeing that Su Tao wasn't bothered about it, Qin Guang was helpless and waved his hand. "Don't say that. I personally don't like racing. I'm good at racing because I'm talented and self-taught, but it doesn't mean that I like it. Anyway, you should pay more attention to yourself. Anyway, you should pay more attention. There's no need to practice every day." Wang Qing said again, "I have to practice. I've made rapid progress recently. I'm no match for you, but there's almost no one in Wujing who can compete with me. I guess after I overcome the last few difficulties, I can almost go to Xiangjiang to participate in the underground racing competition. The Mount Banshan racetrack over there is the holy land for people who like racing in Asia. Masters from all over the world gather there. Only when you make a name for yourself there can you really say that you can race. It's just a small race here. Okay. Pay more attention to your safety. Don't lose your life. Some of my skills are not something that ordinary people can handle. Don't risk your life. By the way, is there a prize for the Mount Banshan racetrack? This was what Qin Guang was concerned about. Wang Qing shrugged indifferently. I heard that the prize is a lot, but I didn't ask carefully. It seems that it's 2 or 3 million yuan at most. But I don't care about the prize. I don't need that money, hee. Okay, I won't talk about you anymore. I'll go first. Qin Guang felt that he and Wang Qing were just barely acquaintances. Maybe they weren't even friends. Wang Qing really liked racing and treated it as if it were half his life. It was impossible for him to listen to his advice. It was meaningless to talk to a shallow acquaintance. He went back to his car, started it, and left. After thinking about it, Qin Guang said, "Why don't I send you back to the hotel? Although Shirui and I weren't photographed, you must have been photographed before. I don't know what's going on the internet now." Jiang Yage waved her hand indifferently. Hey, it doesn't matter. Let them say whatever they want. We didn't do anything sneaky. As long as brother Qin Guang wasn't photographed, it's fine. Jin Shirui also had the same attitude. Brother Qin Guang, you don't have to worry about us. Sister Zhou will take care of these things for us. It doesn't matter if you two followed a mysterious man to the amusement park? Qin Guang asked curiously. It doesn't matter. You were so good at fighting at that time. You didn't need to find any public relations. Normal people would guess that you were a bodyguard. Ah. Jiang Yage hit the nail on the head. Qin Guang felt stifled. Right, he really thought too much. What kind of person was Wang Qing's left and right hand? Today he really acted as both a bodyguard and a driver. He being a bodyguard who could squeeze breasts was actually quite good. However, he really had a nervous breakdown today. Although Jiang Yage wanted to continue playing, Qin Guang finally sent them back to the hotel. When Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage got out of the car, Qin Guang went to the trunk and took out the bouquet of white bell-shaped flowers from it. He handed it to them with a red face. I don't have anything good to give you. After thinking about it, I can only give you this bouquet of flowers. Please don't dislike it. I know you must receive at least a ton of flowers every day, but my gift is light. He couldn't help but blush. When he was racing he was having a good time, but he forgot that the bouquet was rolling around in the trunk. When he took it out, it was so miserable that it almost didn't look like a human. It was also because he was thick-skinned enough that he could still take it out and give it to others. Jiang Yage was overjoyed. She took the flowers from Qin Guang's hand with a smile. She didn't mind the miserable appearance of the withered flowers at all. She said with a smile, "That's different. The flowers you gave me have a different meaning compared to others. I treasure them." Well, this woman is doing this again. Fortunately, brother has already seen through your nature. Then I'm leaving. With that, Qin Guang got in the car again. This was the entrance of the hotel. Although the two women were still wearing sunglasses and masks, they were still a bit conspicuous. When Qin Guang's car gradually drove away, Jiang Yage turned her head proudly. Sister Shirui, he gave us flowers. Did my emotional offensive take effect? Jin Shirui smiled and nodded her head. You think too much. Do you know what the flower language of the white bell-shaped flower is? What? Pure love. Jin Shirui raised her eyebrows. Gratitude. It means pure gratitude. Why is he thanking us? Jiang Yage didn't understand. Jin Shirui only smiled and didn't say anything. The two walked side by side into the hotel. Jiang Yage suddenly came to her senses and suddenly said, Sister Shirui, don't you think that brother Qin Guang is actually very short of money? Jin Shirui nodded. After he saved us, I saw it. Otherwise, why do you think I specially spent time to prepare this watch? He gave us the white bell-shaped flower, which is actually to thank us for giving him this watch. Chapter 198. This watch will be sold by him, right? Jiang Yage asked again. Jin Shirui thought for a moment. Although she was a little disheartened, she still nodded. Most likely. Why don't we just give him money? Jin Shirui shook her head. Don't be fooled by his cheerful appearance. In fact, he is very chauvinistic. He is obviously so short of money, and he knows that the two of us are not short of money, but he is still stubborn and refuses to say anything. If we really dare to give him money, although he will most likely grit his teeth and accept it, he will definitely be ashamed of it. In the future we can't be friends anymore. Jiang Yage sighed. That's true. Then what should we do? Jin Shirue hugged Jiang Yage's shoulder. Little girl, your heart is really in turmoil. It's too pitiful. Let me help you think of an idea. Although he is very chauvinistic, he is very particular about the principle of fair exchange. Jiang Yage was at a loss. Sister Shirue, I don't understand what you mean. Jin Shirue explained. You see, when he saved us, when Director Old Ma gave him money to express his gratitude, he didn't even blink and accepted it. Also, that day when Sister Zhou was going to write him a check, his eyes were actually shining. Because he felt that this money is our repayment. He should take it so he doesn't have any psychological barriers. In the future we will often ask him to take us out to play. Can't we just pay him directly with the accompanying fee? Jiang Yage was immediately overjoyed. That makes sense. Why can those little female stars who just debuted be the companions of other big bosses? Accompanying them to a meal can cost hundreds of thousands of yuan. We can also let brother Qin Guang be our companion. He can drive and play games. Of course, the accompanying fee can't be low. Qin Guang didn't know how these two women were guessing. At this moment he was standing in a luxurious pawn shop with a pained expression. Looking at the fat boss sitting behind the desk in front of him, he wanted to beat him up. Boss, are you trying to fool me that I don't know anything? This style of authentic Patek Philippe is marked on Jingxi website for 680,000 yuan. It's not like I'm selling something common. It's the masterpiece of Master Bronte Comet. I just got it, and you're telling me I'll take it for 400,000 yuan? Do you think I'm stupid? Qin Guang couldn't help but feel angry. This pawnshop was too much. Based on his estimation, the actual value of this watch was at least 1 million. If the pawnshop was willing to offer 700,000, he might have agreed. However, the other party's price was too high. The fat shopkeeper shifted his body and took out a magnifying glass to examine the watch. He was delighted to find Bronte Comet's miniature signature on it. But he didn't move. He just calmly put the watch back into the gift box and said with a smile, Little brother, I'm not bragging to you, but you can't find a pawnshop bigger than mine in Wujing City. Besides, a watch is a gift. It depends on the price of the person. Do you think it's valuable? Of course it's valuable. But speaking of his function, he could also check the time on his phone. After all, a gift watch isn't as practical as a car, and it's not easy to change hands. I'm already very generous to offer you 400,000 yuan. Qin Guang grabbed the box back. I'll give it to you, hee. That's too much. I won't sell it to you anymore. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. The voice of the fat boss came from behind. Little brother, you better remember the house number of my shop. I bet 100,000 yuan that no one in the entire Wujing City will bid higher than me. Besides, although your watch has Bronte Comet's signature on it, who knows if it's his real handwriting? It could be someone else's laser engraving. You don't even have a certificate. How can I trust you? Zhao Yu thought. Even if it's real, gifts are usually half sold. Take care, you'll come back sooner or later. If you're still willing to come tomorrow, I'll give you another 20,000 yuan. 420,000 yuan. I won't give more. The fat boss chuckled as he followed behind Qin Guang, chattering until Qin Guang walked out of the pawn shop. Qin Guang was speechless. He really did not have a certificate. When other people brought things to Jin Shirue, they would not worry about whether it was real or fake. A certificate was too cliché, and Jin Shirue would not care about that. Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage gave the watch to Qin Guang and did not consider this problem. But when he really wanted to sell it, it would become an excuse for him to be ripped off by others. There was no place for him to reason with. Qin Guang went to a few more pawn shops. The fat boss was right at the beginning. The highest offer was only 400,000 yuan, and the worst ones even offered 200,000 yuan. Seeing that it was almost 8 p.m., Qin Guang sighed. Forget it. I won't sell it today. I'll go back to school. After thinking about it, I really have to go back to the fat boss tomorrow to take the hit. Forget it. With this, I can barely cover the cost of a kidney transplant. I'll leave it at that. I know I'll be at a disadvantage, but I have no choice but to swallow it. It's really annoying. Back in the dormitory, Qin Guang threw the box on the desk and drank a mouthful of water. He was still angry. With just 1/600,000 had flown away. *CK, my heart was bleeding. Just as he was fuming, Lin Jingwei and the other two came back from the outside noisily. Let me tell you. I'm serious about Gaoya. Don't King give me a reaction behind my ass. Especially you, Bai Nyangzi. Gaoya is really angry today. Lin Jingwei sounded very angry. Bai Nyangzi apologized carefully. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't expect her to be so shy. I just wanted to help you. Xiong said, Bai Nyangzi, you need to have half of Brother Guang's foresight. My freshman year was also ruined because of you. Lin Jingwei stomped his foot again. Xiong, don't talk about Bai Nyangzi. What do you mean by talking in my sleep in front of everyone? I want to strangle you to death. Qin Guang heard this and laughed. His mood improved a lot. Hearing about someone else's bad luck made him happy. Brother Guang is back? Where did he run off to for the whole day? Is my gel working? When are you going to buy a box for us? Bai Nyangzi and Xiong went to wash up. Lin Jingwei walked in first. When he saw Qin Guang, he was happy. It was obvious that he was not really angry. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Now that things have come to this, I don't have to be afraid to let you know. I've been out with these two beauties for the whole day. I'm exhausted. D***MN. You really became friends with them? That's right. After all, they saved your life. Miss Jean and Miss Jiang are good people. Lin Jingwei came up and said mysteriously, Did anything happen between you two that's beyond friendship? Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. Did pinching their breasts count as beyond friendship? Of course he couldn't let these bastards know. He shook his head violently. No. They're as pure as a piece of white paper. You guys better tell me the truth too. At this moment, Lin Jingwei looked around and saw the gift box on the table. He picked it up and opened it. Oh, it's Patek Philippe. It's from the two of them? Qin Guang nodded. Yes. Oh my god. Bronte Comet's work? Lin Jingwei exclaimed again. Qin Guang was even more surprised. The fat boss had to look at it carefully with a magnifying glass to be sure it was authentic. As for Bronte Comet's work, he did not admit it until the end. Lin Jingwei picked it up and looked at it for less than 5 seconds. How could he know it was fake? Is this guy's eyes a microscope or something? How could he be so knowledgeable? Chapter 199. How did you know? Qin Guang asked, puzzled. Lin Jingwei was pleased with himself. Most people don't know that Patek Philippe has a lot of workers, but only a few of them can be called masters. Bronte Comet is famous all over the world, but his watches have an unknown characteristic. Brother Guang looked carefully. The other minute hands are round dots, except for the 7-minute hand, which is a triangle. Qin Guang picked it up and looked at it. It was true. You're really good at hiding things. You know so much? Qin Guang laughed. Stop playing with it. If I drop it on the floor, I'll crush you to death. I'll be waiting to sell it tomorrow. Lin Jingwei put the things into the box and looked at Qin Guang as if he was looking at an idiot. F***ck. You're kidding? This is Bronte Comet's masterpiece that was personally delivered by his right hand. Do you know how high the value of this thing is? You haven't looked at it carefully, right? Other than Bronte Comet's signature, there are 2 miniature signatures on the back. It's Jean Shiyue's and Jiang Ye's artistic signatures. Qin Guang was shocked. He picked it up and looked at it under the light. There were really 2 small scribbles. The so-called artistic signature probably meant scribbles. Qin Guang didn't tell the fat boss about the watch's relationship with his left hand. The fat boss didn't recognize it and only recognized Bronte Comet's name. Lin Jingwei had seen the 2 women's artistic signatures, so he guessed it immediately. Qin Guang's heart hurt even more. Then tell me, how much is this watch worth? The highest price that the pawnshop in Wujing City offered me was 420,000 yuan. Forget it, don't tell me or I'll be heartbroken. I can't tell others who gave this watch to me. It'll cause trouble. Lin Jingwei smiled sinisterly. I insist on saying it. If he took it to the auction house, filled in the certificate, and got the confirmation from his left and right hands, it was not impossible to sell it for 2 million. But obviously, you can't expose the direct relationship between this watch and your left and right hand. If you auction it as a work of Bronte Comet, I personally estimate that it can fetch about 1.5 million, but I'm afraid it won't be sold so soon. I'm afraid you can't wait. So if I were to sell it directly, I estimate that it would be around 1.2 million. After all, the original model was the one that cost 680,000 yuan. If it wasn't auctioned, it would be good if the price could be doubled. Qin Guang felt like he was suffocating. F***CKU. My heart is going to break. I'll help you sell it for 1.2 million. At this moment, Lin Jingwei suddenly threw out this sentence. Qin Guang was shocked. You can't be serious, right? Can you find a buyer? Does he trust what you say? By the way, you can't let others know about the relationship between this watch and your left and right hands. You have to remove the added value of your left and right hands. Lin Jingwei nodded seriously. Don't worry, I can really find someone to buy it. Disregarding the relationship between your left and right hands, this watch is really worth that much. Qin Guang clutched his heart. Mother ***, the world of the rich is too scary. Don't be sad. I'll find someone tomorrow and buy 2 million for you. I know your family is short of money recently. We're brothers, so I'll definitely help you if I can. It's just a pity that there's so much added value. Sigh, my heart hurts. Qin Guang nodded heavily. Added value is nothing. I know about the auction house. By the time I sell it and get the money back, my mother's things will be too late. It's 2 million. One must know how to be content. After this period, I'll be strong without any desires. Thanks. Lin Jingwei chuckled. Brother, why are you saying this? I'm just helping you sell something. It's not like they're losing money, and they're earning so much added value for nothing. Even if it's hidden and invisible, it's still there. Lying on the bed, Qin Guang suppressed his ecstasy and took out his phone. It had been a long time since he last played with his phone before going to bed. The book that he had been following should be on the shelves by now, right? He opened it and it was indeed so. From what he wrote in his acceptance speech, it was a pitiful little ****. There were only a few hundred subscriptions. This author's family probably couldn't even afford to eat. After reading all the new chapters in one breath, Qin Guang nodded silently. Although this *** was a big liar as usual, it was still interesting. I've just made a fortune, and seeing how pitiful you are, I'll reward you with $100. Then Qin Guang threw his phone aside and planned to sleep. He didn't want to wait for that ** to come and lick his boots. He hid his achievements and fame, silently acting cool and proud. At this moment, a text message notification rang. Who would send me a text message in the middle of the night? Qin Guang frowned slightly. It was probably my forever best friend 10,086 again. Owed money? I'm a noble postpaid customer, alright. How could I owe money? I still have to pay the phone bill in 2 days. Just as he was hesitating to reach for his phone, the second text message notification rang. With my many years of experience, it must be Jiang Yage or Jin Shuriwei who sent you a text. You better take a look, Lin Jingwei, who was lying on the opposite bunk playing parkour every day, said. Qin Guang spat. Nonsense. Do you think celebrities are as free as you? He didn't believe it. He picked up his phone and took a look. Lin Jingwei, this ** had guessed correctly. It was indeed a text message from Jin Shuriwei. And it wasn't just her. The second message was from Jiang Yage. Is it true? Lin Jingwei's gossipy heart was burning. Qin Guang only snorted. Get lost, you decadent mobile gamer. As he scolded, Qin Guang looked at their text messages. Brother Qin Guang, are you asleep? I'm sorry to disturb your sleep. I've troubled you today, but I'm really having fun. Will you still play with us in the future? This is my WeChat ID. Add me. It was a text message from Jin Shuriwei. Qin Guang smiled faintly. Jin Shuriwei was really polite. The second message was from Jiang Yage. What would she say? He had a bad feeling about it. Why don't I just not look at it? In the end, he couldn't control himself. After all, she was the great Jiang Yage. She took the trouble to send him a text message in the middle of the night, and he didn't even look at it. Wasn't that too arrogant? About 5 seconds after opening the text message, Qin Guang regretted it. What did I just see? This woman is crazy. It was a picture of Jiang Yage. It looked like she had taken a selfie in front of the mirror. In the picture, she seemed to have just finished working out. She was wearing a tight black tank top and light blue sports pants. She was smiling brightly. Her face was still red from the strenuous exercise. She made a perfect V sign with her hand in front of the mirror. The picture looked sloppy and ordinary. It was no different from the selfies that other celebrities often posted online. There wasn't any extra benefit. Alright, that wasn't important. What was important was that next to the picture, the woman had used her poor Photoshop skills to Photoshop the following words. The hot celebrity has a good figure. Her body is soft and easy to push down. For the whole night, it's only 8888. If you need, please add me on WeChat XXXX. Under the picture, there's a line of text. This is really my WeChat ID. Qin Guang nearly crushed his phone to smithereens. What the fuck? You're so wild. Your tricks are so deep and your thinking is too broad. He quickly typed 3 words on his phone. Crazy. After thinking about it, he held back and didn't send it out. Chapter 200. Forget it. After all, he had just taken a valuable Patek Philippe, and now he had to sell his well-intentioned gift. It was still a little shameful. Opening WeChat, he sent friend requests to each of them, and then Qin Guang decisively closed WeChat. He was about to go to bed. If he kept chatting with them, who knew how long it would take? Alas, since he had found his phone again, he might as well check Weibo. Opening Weibo, he suddenly decided to follow Jin Shirue and Jiang Ye's Weibo accounts, and then suffered a heavy blow. Jin Shirue had more than 57 million Weibo fans, and Jiang Ye had more than 64 million. It seemed that Jiang Ye was more interested in managing her Weibo. She often updated her Weibo with interesting content. The original version of the photo she sent to Qin Guang just now was posted on her Weibo. It was updated about half an hour ago. Of course, it didn't contain the bullshit of 8 for a night. She added another sentence. Today, I secretly brought my bodyguards to Wujing Disneyland to play and was discovered. Luckily, no one got hurt. Thank God. Everyone, please be more calm in the future and pay attention to protect yourselves. I was discovered as soon as I arrived at the amusement park. It's a pity that I didn't have a good time. I practiced dancing hard all day and sweated profusely. I feel that I've lost a lot of weight. Everyone, do you think I've lost weight? Qin Guang rolled his eyes. You can deceive those poor fans who don't know the truth. No, I must expose her. He decisively replied to a comment below. Just arrived. That's right. I was discovered just 3 hours after arriving at Disneyland. What a close shave. Liar. Lazy bum. May you get fatter and fatter. After replying to the comment, Qin Guang decisively quit. He really couldn't stand the pile of replies below. Goddess moi. Goddess full highest. Goddess is the most beautiful. My Yage is so beautiful. Like me if you agree. It's too mushy, too sour, too blind. In the old man's humble opinion, Jiang Yage is really a goddess, a neurotic. Returning to his homepage, he felt a sense of loneliness, like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. I have 9 fans. I don't know 5 of them. The other 3 are my 3 grandsons and 1 is Sun Xiaoxuan. The number of views for the week, 5. It was Friday, so it was very likely that Sun Xiaoxuan had done it all by himself. Number of replies this week, 1. It was Sun Xiaoxuan's reply. Level 4 for sure. I won't fail any of my final exams. She replied to Qin Guang's most recent Weibo post, which was also posted 3 months ago. The content was as follows. The internet's life is long, but my will is indomitable. Qin Guang will never fall. Endless desolation shrouded his heart. Why was the gap between people so big? Those two had tens of millions of fans at every turn. There was no way they could be friends. That's right, if these 2 people randomly reposted an advertisement on their Weibo, the advertising fee would be at least a few $100,000. Damn it, comparing oneself to others is infuriating. How about I let them casually repost one of my Weibo posts? Then I'll become a big V in minutes? From then on, I'll walk the road of being popular on Weibo? The logic is still the same, but isn't this too shameless? Forget it, I'll bear with it for now. This is the ultimate killer move and I can't use it easily. In addition, people might guess my relationship with them because of this. If I'm targeted by the paparazzi, there's no way to make up for it. Of course, would I be able to come up with some original and fun content later? The kind that can make people giggle the whole time, and then let those 2 people repost it and add a note. This is really fun, haha. Everyone go and see it, haha. The other person added another note. I also saw it. It's really fun, haha. That's right, I definitely won't be suspected. I already have the ultimate skill of turning over a new leaf. My life is stable. I'll throw away my phone and go to sleep. Qin Guang did not know that in a 5-star hotel in Wujing City, Jin Shirue and Jiang Ye, who were used to squeezing on the same bed, were sleeping in separate rooms, which was rare. They were lying in 2 different rooms in the same suite, curled up in the quilt alone, holding their phones in their hands. In the pitch-black room, there were only 2 pairs of beautiful eyes staring at their phones without blinking. Jiang Ye replied to Qin Guang with a smiley face, and then entered a sweet dream. Jin Shirue hesitated for a long time, then sighed softly and replied, "Good night." They were actually countless times busier than Qin Guang, so how could they have the time to chat with him in the middle of the night? The next day, Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei woke up early in the morning and drove straight to a cafe in the city. Sure enough, a young man in a white suit came, and he seemed to be very familiar with Lin Jingwei. This man was very straightforward. He did not even carefully check the authenticity of the thing. After a simple chat, he put the watch in his pocket and transferred one. 2 million yuan to Qin Guang's PayPal account on the spot. Until this man left, Qin Guang's mind was in a mess. He hid his phone under the table, glanced at the numbers on it and carefully counted the number of zeros on it. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he began to laugh foolishly. He suddenly came back to his senses and quickly hid his phone nervously. After a while he took it out again, looked at it and continued to laugh foolishly. Then he hid his phone like he was guarding against a thief. Lin Jingwei was speechless. If you really don't feel at ease, hurry up and find a bank card to transfer the money. I'm afraid you're going to have a nervous breakdown if you continue like this. Qin Guang nodded repeatedly. That's right. He quickly transferred the money to his own bank card. He did not directly transfer it to his dad because he was afraid that the old man would suddenly throw such a huge sum of money at him and give him a heart attack. He would find a chance later to euphemistically and carefully explain it to him. But based on your mom's situation, this money may seem like a lot, but I'll say something unpleasant. It's still not enough to spend, Lin Jingwei suddenly said. Qin Guang felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. He pinched his fingers and did some calculations. It was not wrong. The cost before and after the surgery was not low. For the time being he would consider 600,000 yuan. Now that his mom was living in a special ward that ordinary people could not enter, the basic monthly expenses would be at least a few tens of thousands. Anyway, up until now, the 300,000 yuan in his dad's card had been reduced to 50,000 yuan. Apart from that, after the surgery, there would be a long recovery period, which was another huge sum of money. After the recovery period, she would have to continue taking the immunity suppressant. The expenses were like the Yellow River, rolling eastward and unable to stop. Perhaps by this time next year, the 1.2 million yuan would basically be nothing more than a drizzle. Brother, you're tired? Lin Jingwei patted his shoulder heavily. Qin Guang picked up the cup in front of him and looked at the heavenly holy grail. He immediately smiled. What's there to be afraid of? Earning money is as easy as eating and drinking. He began to have ideas about the driving god training class again. He was thinking about when he should contact Zhong Baikai for the second session. After letting Lin Jingwei go back to school alone, Qin Guang drove straight to the hospital. He wanted to tell his dad the good news as soon as possible. Your son is going to be rich. Chapter 201. When Qin Guang arrived at his mother's ward, Tang Ying was just walking out. Thank you, little Tang, for taking so much trouble for us, Qin Guoli said with a smile as he walked Tang Ying out. These days, Qin Guoli was more and more impressed by Dr. Tang's medical skills. Even though Professor Liu was a well-known expert, Professor Liu was very busy. Even though he had the title of Chief Physician Feng Rong, he only came to visit twice a day. When Qin Guoli went to look for him, he was usually not around. On the other hand, even though Tang Ying had many other patients, she was exceptionally attentive to Feng Rong. Not only did she fulfill her duties as a doctor, but she would sometimes come over to chat with Feng Rong before she got off work. She would often chat with her for half an hour. In addition, Tang Ying's medical skills weren't bad, and her analysis of the patient's condition was clear and organized. Qin Guoli often saw her communicating with the family members of the patients she was responsible for, and they were all convinced by her. Therefore he liked Dr. Tang even more. As Tang Ying walked out, she turned around and said to Qin Guoli with a smile, Uncle Chen, you're too kind. I'm friends with Qin Guang and I'm also Andy Feng's doctor. It's my duty, my duty. When Qin Guoli heard this he said, Qin Guang, that kid, how dare he question your medical skills? I'll teach him a lesson later. How can he treat his friends like that? Dr. Tang, I'll definitely help you. Oh Uncle Chen, you're too kind. Don't beat him too hard, after all he's still taking his final exam. Tang Ying's face was full of smiles as she walked out triumphantly. You're right, then I'll beat him up after the exam. Qin Guang, who had been standing by the door and listening to their conversation, was speechless. This Tang Ying was not someone to be trifled with. How long had it been? Not only did she tease him every time, she even tried to sow discord with his father. What did she mean by don't beat him too hard? Speaking of which, when did my relationship with her become this good? Why didn't I notice it myself? As soon as Tang Ying turned around the corner, he immediately saw Qin Guang standing beside him with a dark face. Not only did he not feel guilty, he even raised his eyebrows and showed a provocative expression. Then he took small light steps and swayed his hips as he walked away. Qin Guang covered his face with his hands. He felt that this woman had something on him that could be used against him. He strode into the intensive care unit, and before he turned the corner, he heard Qin Guoli and Feng Rong chatting. Old Qin, Do you think Dr. Little Tang is interested in our little Guang? She's so enthusiastic that I'm a little embarrassed. Feng Rong said. Qingguoli coughed. My dear wife, don't make wild guesses. It seemed that Dr. Little Tang and Little Guang had known each other for a long time and were true friends. Well, it's not bad if she's really interested in him. Although Dr. Little Tang is a few years older than Little Guang, doctors seem to be quite good at taking care of their health. When Little Guang is 24, Dr. Little Tang will only be 30 and can have at least 2 more children. Dr. Little Tang's medical skills are high, she's diligent, educated, and has a good personality. She's really made for a good wife. It's just that being a doctor is a little tiring, but it's young people's business, so let them be. Listening to Qingguoli's words, Qin Guang's scalp tingled with goosebumps when his father called him his dear wife, and then he was embarrassed by the latter half of his sentence. He rushed out. What nonsense are you talking about? The 2 elders were startled by Qin Guang's sudden appearance. Qingguoli waved his hands. No, I didn't say anything. It was clear that his father's shamelessness was superior to Qin Guang's, and his ability to lie through his teeth was top-notch. Qin Guang knew that once he started acting shamelessly, he would never admit to what he just said, and there was nothing he could do about it. Qin Guang sat down and chatted with his parents again, especially looking at the new checkup reports that came out recently. He saw that there were fewer plus and minus signs and all the indicators were improving, and he was relieved. He found an opportunity to call Qingguoli upstairs again, and Qin Guang planned to transfer money to him. If you have something to say, hurry up and say it. Your mom opened the Langya board again when we just left the house, and I'll miss a lot of time again if she drags on. Qingguoli said anxiously. Qin Guang was defeated and he took a deep breath. Dad, I have something to tell you and it's very important. Seeing that he was serious, Qingguoli knew that it was something important, and he did not rush him. He nodded. Okay, I'm listening. Promise me that you won't be too emotional after you hear it, and you have to calm down first. It's probably related to the watch that Jiang Yage wanted to give me. I got the watch and sold it and I got the money. Qin Guang swallowed his saliva and said carefully. Qingguoli waved his hand nonchalantly. Hey, seeing how serious you are, I thought it was something important, but it's just a small matter? Didn't you say it once? As long as I got the money, it's fine. I'll ask your uncle to cancel the contract with the other party later. Damn. So you're still planning to sell your house? Qin Guang spat. Qingguoli smiled embarrassedly. I'm just trying to be safe. The transplant is so important and I'm afraid that something might go wrong. Tell me, how much did you sell it for? I've been in the business for most of my life and I'm very knowledgeable. How much money have I not seen? Didn't you already give me a heads up? Tell me. Qin Guang felt that Su Tao's father was right. After all, back then the hot pot restaurant could earn tens of thousands of profit in a month, and it could even reach hundreds of thousands during peak seasons. His father was someone who had seen the world. 1,200,000 yen. Dad. Wake up, Dad. Less than 5 seconds after Qin Guang said that, Qingguoli's eyes rolled back, and he fell on his back without any hesitation. Qin Guang shouted as he hugged his father and pinched his philtrum a few times. This businessman who had boasted about his big heart just now slowly woke up. He opened his eyes in a daze and looked at Qin Guang. What did you say? How much did you say just now? Qin Guang answered subconsciously, 2 million. Qingguoli's head tilted and he fainted again. Half an hour later, Qin Guang looked at his father with disdain. He, a businessman. This is the legendary businessman who has been in the business for most of his life. You're really knowledgeable. Qingguoli's face was red. It was too embarrassing. You can't blame me for this. Didn't you say it was 400,000 to 500,000 at the start? It suddenly increased by so many times and we've been poor for so long. We can't get used to it in a short time. This is too sudden. Qin Guang spat at him. All right. I'll transfer the money to you. After Qin Guang had transferred the money, Qingguoli said faintly, a big star is a big star indeed. She's really willing to pay so much to keep a pretty boy as a mistress. The first thing she did was something so valuable. It's like she's treating money like it's nothing. Qin Guang retorted, you pretty boy. How can you talk about your son like that? Besides, this is them thanking me for saving their lives. It's not a mistress fee. Qingguoli looked like he understood. Explaining is equivalent to covering up. Don't quibble. As for the overnight fee, I understand. But then again, you earn so much by ringing the bell. The workload must be quite heavy, right? I want to cut ties with you again. Don't. I'm not joking with you. You may be young now, but men and women are different in this aspect. If you overwork at a young age, it'll be easy for you to feel weak in the future. I'm doing this for your own good, really? It said that you get what you pay for. If you hadn't worked so hard, would they have offered you such a price? He really lost to him. Chen Guang covered his face and retreated, not daring to return to the ward. He really regretted lying to his father that he was Jiang Ye's mistress. Was it a huge mistake? I've lost. I lost because I didn't see your bottom line clearly. However, the words had already been said. No matter how much his father cheated him, he could only grit his teeth and admit defeat. After Qin Guang left, Qin Guoli accompanied Feng Rong to watch television in the ward. However, he still felt uneasy and full of thoughts. Feng Rong was annoyed by his behavior. She glared at him and said, "Can't you just watch television?" Qin Guoli sighed as if he had made up his mind. He stood up abruptly and said, "You watch it yourself, I'm going to ask Dr. Tang something." After walking out of the ward, Qin Guoli sighed again and said to himself, "This kid doesn't know how to behave. He really thinks I'm joking with him. No, as a father, I have to think about my son's future. His expenses are too high. 2 million yuan for the night. That's too much work. Celebrities nowadays are scary. His body needs to be healed, he really needs to be healed. Otherwise, it'll be a big problem in the future." Then the problem was, how was he going to make it up? He decided to ask Tang Ying about this. It wasn't that he was shameless, but he couldn't ask Professor Lu, who was a respected old man. After thinking about it, since Tang Ying and Qin Guang were friends, and he was half of Qin Guang's elder, and she was also an outstanding doctor, it wasn't inappropriate to ask her. Patients couldn't hide their illness for fear of treatment. This was embarrassing, but if he didn't tell the doctor, he wouldn't die of illness. He was in the hospital, and Dr. Tang was a nice person. If he didn't ask her, he couldn't ask her, right? Of course, he could find a random relative to take the blame. There was no need to let her know that it was Qin Guang who wanted it. Chapter 202. The next day, Qin Guang received a call from his father, asking him to go to the hospital. He had to go no matter what, as if it was something very important. When he asked his father, he only said that his mother's mood suddenly became unstable and wanted him to come over and chat with her. Qin Guang quickly rushed out of the study room and drove straight to the city hospital. Auntie was the most important thing in the world. When he reached the hospital, his mother was fine, but she questioned why he went to the hospital again. Qin Guang angrily pulled Qin Guoli out of the ward. "Dad, what are you doing?" "I'm studying for the exam." Qin Guoli patted his shoulder. "She was a little emotional just now, but she's fine now. She misses you, but she won't let me call you. Now that you're here, she won't admit it." "Forget it." "Then I'll go back?" Qin Guoli hurriedly grabbed him and pulled out a lunchbox from behind. "Wait, you've been so busy lately. The food at school isn't good. Since I had nothing to do last night, I made you a big soup. Take it home and eat it." Qin Guang always felt that his father's behavior was not right. He had grown up for so many years, but when had he ever made soup for him? "Why are you looking at me like that? Don't tell me that I, your father, would poison you?" Qin Guoli had a guilty conscience in his heart, but he still put on a fierce expression and glared fiercely. Qin Guang quickly took the lunchbox. Okay. Go back. I'll take it home and eat it, okay?" Qin Guoli was happy. He turned around and walked 2 steps, then turned back and said, "This is your father's painstaking effort. Don't share it with others. Eat it alone." After that, Qin Guoli closed the ward door and clenched his fist. "Done. Sneaky." Qin Guang made a face and planned to go back to school. "Isn't this a waste of my time?" Passing by Tang Ying's office, Qin Guang saw her walking out in casual clothes with a big bag on her back. Qin Guang, who was already experienced in this, grinned and greeted her. "Yo, are you coming home from work?" Tang Ying looked up and saw that it was him. She was amused. "What? You want to see me off?" Qin Guang grinned. "If Dr. Tang needs it, I'll do it." Since they were already familiar with each other, Tang Ying did not stand on ceremony with him. As usual, he tossed the big bag on his back. Qin Guang caught it with one hand and passed the lunchbox to Tang Ying with his right hand. "Help me carry this. Your bag sure is heavy." Looking at the lunchbox in Qin Guang's hand, Tang Ying was stunned for a moment before she took it. Qin Guang put his bag on his back. "Give me the lunchbox." Tang Ying had already walked forward. "You're already carrying such a heavy bag for me. How can I let you carry the lunchbox yourself? What's inside? What's delicious? Did your dad ask you to bring it back to school?" Qin Guang curled his lips indifferently. "My dad said he made soup for me yesterday. What else could it be? Oh. Tang Ying didn't say anything else. Yesterday, Qin Guoli came to her shyly and only told her that he had a relative who was in trouble. That relative heard him boasting about how great his medical skills were as a returned doctor, so he begged him to see if he could get a prescription from him no matter what. It didn't matter if it was a traditional Chinese medicine prescription or a diet method, as long as it could nourish yang and nourish the kidney. At that time, Tang Ying thought it was funny. She didn't study traditional Chinese medicine, so she wanted to refuse. However, when she saw Qin Guoli's face turning red with embarrassment, she told Qin Guoli about a diet method that her mother had copied from the internet some time ago, which was said to be very useful. It was probably called rejuvenating soup or something, and she managed to convince him. This rejuvenating soup could be called a traditional Chinese medicine prescription, or a diet method. There were precious Chinese medicinal materials like desert sistanch, cheap medicinal plants like dodder, and high-nutrition food like huai yam. The others were walnut kernels, round-grained rice, and other seasonings. The main ingredients were lean mutton and lamb spine. This kind of prescription might not necessarily be useful, but it was also not accurate to say that it was completely useless. People had different physiques. Some people had tried this kind of diet method and the effect was incredible, but there were also people who didn't have any effect at all. It just varied from person to person. Tang Ying had told this to Qin Guoli and then left it at the back of her mind. After all, she was the attending physician of more than 10 patients, and she was busy all day long. She didn't have the time to remember so many things in her mind. Now that she got off work and met Qin Guang on her way home, she could finally relax. Holding the lunchbox in her hand, her mind became active. On the way home, she finally couldn't help raising the lunchbox a little higher without batting an eyelid. She put her nose close to the lid and sniffed hard. She suddenly understood. Then, she looked at the back of Qin Guang in front of her with a strange look in her eyes. Poor parents. Qin Guoli's extremely embarrassed look yesterday came to her mind again. It turned out that the so-called relative he couldn't refuse was Qin Guang. That's right. Perhaps only for his own son would an old man like Qin Guoli not care about his reputation and ask her that kind of question. But Qin Guang was even more pitiful. He was young and should be at the age where he was full of vigor and vitality. How could he have a problem in this aspect? Then she thought of Qin Guang's words and actions when she was sent home for the first time. Combined with today's lunchbox that was filled with the smell of sheep's blood, Tang Ying understood everything. No wonder he could be so calm and composed when he was drunk. Admittedly, his personal character was very noble, but there must be a reason in this aspect. He was just a young and inexperienced student. I was completely drunk and unconscious, but he didn't take advantage of me at all. When I woke up, his attitude towards me was so bad. I thought I became ugly after coming back to China, but it turned out that he had a problem first. Pitiful, sad, lamentable. Qin Guang walked in front. Suddenly he felt a strong itch on his back. He turned around and saw Tang Ying looking at him with a strange expression. Her eyes were unfocused as if she was daydreaming. What's wrong with you? You should rest your brain for a bit after work. Don't think about work for now. Tang Ying snapped back to reality and forced a smile. When she looked at Qin Guang's bright smile, she felt a pain in her heart. Sigh, what a pitiful boy. What a tough life. You are strong. Your mother is sick and you have a problem with your body. But you still smile at life and shoulder the burden of the family. No matter how hard and tired you are, I never see you show the slightest bit of sadness. But you always care about others and hide your own pain in your heart. You're my friend. You saved me from the hands of 2 hooligans. I owe you a great favor. Although I treated your mother, it was my duty. I'm both a doctor and your friend. Since I know you have this problem, I can't ignore it. I can't let you go on like this. I have to help you. Otherwise, my conscience won't be at peace. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.